This lecture is basically a torture session. Since Seung-woo is a genius, he figures a nap is the best way to spend his time. Suddenly, a massive system window pops up. It jolts him awake and demands he pick a class to survive the upcoming apocalypse. At first, Seung-woo has absolutely no idea what is happening. He rubs his eyes hard just to check if he is still dreaming. Then the room goes pitch black. Naturally, the rest of the students start freaking out. Seung-woo wonders why the lights died in the middle of the day. All the electronics just quit working at once. Glowing windows float in front of everyone. They show class cards with star ratings and a 15-second timer. Everyone is way too scared to pick anything. Time is running out fast. Seung-woo decides to just go for it and grabs the card with the most stars. He lands the rare Necromancer class. Only one other clumsy guy picks a roll too. He gets the swordsman class and a real sword to go with it. Seung-woo does not get any gear. He is not even sure if the class actually worked. Meanwhile, everyone else is still frozen in place with no classes. They were just too terrified to pick one. Suddenly, a goblin appears out of nowhere and stabs a student. The poor guy screams and begs for help. Everyone just stares in total shock. They watch as the goblin keeps stabbing the guy until he is gone. Once the goblin finishes him off, it locks eyes with the rest of the class. They realize they might be next. Everyone takes off running instantly, except for our hero. To be honest, he stays put because he is terrified of catching the monster's attention. The goblin looks absolutely enraged. The panicked students beg the nerdy guy with the sword to do something. But he just starts crying and refuses to fight back at all. He looks at what is going down and realizes he is in real trouble. A goblin lunges at him, so he tries to run. Turning his back is a death sentence. He turns around and kicks the creature hard. Since the thing is small, he grabs a chair to defend himself. When it charges again, he smashes it with the chair like a bug. Once the goblin goes down, a screen pops up earning him 10 gold. He stares at the message, wondering if the world turned into a game. A new alert appears. It says he has the power to control the dead. At level 1, he can only command 3 of these undead goblins. He stands there confused as the fallen goblin suddenly jerks back to life. Then it stands up as an undead warrior. Seung-woo puts it all together and realizes his class is built for summoning. His minion turns with glowing eyes. Just then, 2 more goblins storm inside. The other students lose their cool and start screaming for help once more. He stands in front of the group with his loyal, undead soldier ready. He acts fast and orders his skeleton to take down the enemy monsters. The skeleton moves fast and slashes at the living goblins with its blade. It becomes a 2-against-1 fight, so the monsters really fight back. One goblin manages to slash the left arm of his undead minion. He thinks he might need to join the fight if his skeleton starts losing. Even though the monsters look flimsy, he knows he needs a real weapon. He spots this nerdy kid holding a sword and tells him to just hand it over. That guy grips his sword tight and screams that he is keeping it for himself. Our guy tells him to fight if he wants to keep it, but the kid is terrified. Honestly, he should just let the monsters have him and take the sword anyway. To help his skeleton, he grabs a chair and hurls it right at the monsters. That gives the skeleton the opening it needs to slice them up and win. Taking out those 2 monsters gives his gold stash a pretty nice boost. He watches a goblin with one arm waddle toward him looking almost weirdly cute. The skeleton keeps staring him in the eyes, so he tells it to look away. The skeleton hangs its head like he just crushed its poor little feelings. Just then, Seung-woo gets a notification that he can command the undead. He uses his skill to raise those 2 dead goblins, hitting his summon limit. While they try to process this, they hear screams for help from other departments. He realizes this nightmare is not just at their school, but likely the whole country. One look outside shows just how truly devastating the situation really is. It looks like the entire city is burning to the ground right now. Knowing they need to move, one student opens the door and says they should go. Another student says to run for the parking lot because he has his car. As they all sprint for the stairs, a group of goblins pops out of the shadows. A pack of goblins charges right at the students. Suddenly, skeletons come out of nowhere to ambush the bunch. He yells for the students to run away. As they scatter, his skeleton crew handles the goblins. Total panic sets in right away. The students run off frantically in every direction across the campus grounds. He wants to call them back, but he soon realizes they are probably better off alone. After all, he knows this game operates by a very specific set of rules. Fighting is his best bet to get stronger. It is also the best way to survive this mess. He stands to the side, acting like a pro. He just watches his skeletal minions do the work. Suddenly, one monster goes totally wild. It manages to hack the head right off his skeleton soldier. Seeing one of his troops drop, Sungwoo feels nervous. He realizes he might be in real trouble. Now his remaining two skeletons square off against the pair of monsters. His skeletons manage to take them both down, and luckily, he earns some extra gold for the trouble. He also notices that his level has finally increased. He opens up his profile window to take a look at his new stats. Instead of normal points, he gets a level up card. It gives him a totally random reward. He knows it depends on luck, but that is one of the most important parts of the game. He picks a random skill card. Now he can command 4 minions at the same time. He summons another skeleton to his side, but he quickly notices that his mana is running quite low. He has the skeletons gather around him. Then he sits down to think for a little while. Since he has no clue what is going on, he focuses on just staying alive for now. He uses his skeleton squad as a living shield. It is finally time to head down the stairs. Things downstairs look like a total disaster zone. Honestly, he just cannot stay hiding on this campus forever. He tells his skeletons to take the lead. They decide it is finally time to move out. As the squad heads down, they run right into good old Hanho. The sight of undead goblins scares him to death. He panics and slams his dagger into one. Our main guy spots him crying over there. He loudly calls him out for acting like that. His friend wants to know exactly what those things are. He just shrugs and calls them his bodyguards. He asks the guy about his new class. It turns out he went with the rogue class. The guy acts a little bit dim. He picked a 1-star class thinking it meant Brigadier General. Even his skeleton minions look visibly disappointed in the guy. Finally, he joins up with their little group. Now they are finally making their way off campus. A system notification pops up while they walk. Synergy effects are active since he is in a group. The rules require the group to have 5 daggers. It gives bonus gold and higher chances for fatal hits. He realizes buffs apply when they meet certain rules, and his skeleton army counts for the bonus too. That means he can trigger this powerful buff all by himself. As they head downward, they stumble across some minions and a massive boss monster. A notification says the scent of death lowers enemy stats by 30%. This triggers with 4 skeletons. With that sweet buff active, Sungwoo sends his skeleton squad into the fight. They quickly overpower the goblins and start wiping them out immediately. Things get complicated the moment that lead minion steps in. He raises a hand and activates his berserker skill immediately. That gives all the minions a massive boost, and the fight turns on them. He stays calm because he knows he must stop the buff for his team to win. He tells his one-armed skeleton to stop hitting the tiny ones and attack the boss. The goblin leaps forward and slices the arm off the boss in one motion. He gets kicked away for the trouble, but at least the job is done. Now that the buff is gone, the skeletons have the goblins right where they want. Still, the boss refuses to go down without putting up a real fight first. It falls eventually, and he earns a decent chunk of bonus gold for his work. He notices the boss dropped some gear on the ground as it faded away. There is a spear and a wristband that provides a handy buff to nearby allies. After packing the gear, he spots his one-armed skeleton waiting for some recognition. Sungwoo smiles and pats its skull, and the skeleton looks surprisingly happy about it. He decides it is time to keep moving along with his unusual companion. They are walking when he notices some other people off in the distance. He tells his skeletons to hide so they do not scare anyone away. A whole bunch of students had gathered right in front of the exit gate. Some guy is trying to settle them down by promising the student council is coming. The main college gate is totally packed. No one is getting through that crowd right now. Oh, and the lead guy? He knows him. His name is Jin Seok. He is bad news and notorious for harassing women. Since he is from the student council, he is acting like he is in charge. Sungwoo thinks he is just fronting for attention. He tells Sungwoo and his friend to step up and defend the students. Since they have weapons, he wants them to be the front line. Then he asks Sungwoo what his character class is. He even brags a bit because he killed one goblin earlier today. While Sungwoo is cringing at this jerk, a nerd with a sword runs in. He yells that goblins are near the stairs. The council guy immediately orders everyone to hide in the cafe. He wants them to guard the front door instead. Meanwhile, Sungwoo calls his friend over. He wants him to see the weird message written on the door. It basically says the area is locked until they kill the boss. If they wait around, the boss just gets stronger. Sungwoo realizes nobody is coming to save them. They have to face that boss themselves if they want to escape. Jin Seok shows up with the nerd and orders them to fight the goblins. Sungwoo asks if he even read the door message. The guy claims he read it, but is hoping for a rescue. He actually thinks the military will swoop in and save everyone. Sungwoo knows that is a total pipe dream. He realizes that waiting for help just is not going to work. He starts heading back toward the stairs. That is when he spots a huge swarm of goblins sprinting his way. Seeing that pack of goblins charging at them makes the nerd with the sword nearly lose it. Things get even wilder for that poor guy. Suddenly, skeleton minions appear and he starts panicking. The main character signals for the skeletons to hold. He tells the nerd not to worry because they are his minions. He calls the council prick an idiot and gives the order. It is time for his skeleton army to fight. Thanks to a synergy buff and the scent of death, the monsters never stood a chance. Students are glued to the cafe windows. They watch in shock as Sungwoo and his skeleton army tear through the minions. The main guy jumps right into the action. He starts swinging his spear and completely smashing those goblins to pieces. Jin Seok is standing there with his mouth wide open. He was dead set on running away the second he got a chance. The goblins try to make a run for it. He orders his skeletons to cut them off at the stairs. He knows he has to show them he is in control. Getting everyone to team up is the only way to win. Suddenly his bracelet glows and triggers a wild spirit buff. It gives all his minions a major speed boost. Managing these little goblins is easy for him, but he knows way scarier monsters are waiting further down the road. The students finally figure out that he is the one in charge. He is definitely leading the attack. His skeleton army mows through the goblins like nothing. The crowd is so relieved they actually start cheering for him. You can really see the students start to trust him right now. He checks the bodies for any loot. All he gets is a notification about a roulette ticket. He has no clue how to actually collect it, though. He does not even have an inventory system yet. They all turn around and start making their way back to the group. He gives Jin Seok a little smirk when he sees him. He asks if he has been helpful enough for him. Everyone just stands there in dead silence for a second. Nobody has any idea what to do next. He explains they are totally stuck here for now. They just cannot seem to break through that heavy door. He tells them the only way out is to kill the boss. It is hiding somewhere inside the building. People start backing away the moment they hear that. Fighting a boss is the last thing they want to do. He warns them that failing would be much worse. They might have to fight even stronger monsters if they wait. One student suddenly raises his hand to speak. He claims he has seen the boss monster lurking on the roof. Seung-woo knows he needs to check it out. He asks if any of the students want to tag along. As you might guess, they're all way too terrified to follow him up there. His friend really wants to stay back, but the hero drags him along to keep using his skeleton buffs. While they're chatting, a girl named Jisoo jumps in. She complains that extra people will just be in the way. She reckons the skeletons are better than any student anyway. There is just no point in bringing along people who cannot hold their own. Still, the hero thinks she is acting a bit reckless. They don't know nearly enough about the boss yet. He looks to Jinseok for help. The poor guy is shaking and says he must stay back to guard the students. Clearly no one else is joining him now. The hero decides to just head up with his current team instead. As they make their way up, they run into a fresh wave of goblins. The creatures surround them from the top and the bottom of the stairs. Jisoo does not hesitate for a single second. She lunges into the swarm and starts slicing them to pieces. She is fighting with a wicked long sword. It is obvious she has received some real combat training. Hanho is watching the fight, and he seems genuinely impressed by her skills. Our guy stays busy managing his skeleton crew. After clearing the goblins, they continue moving forward. They climb a few more stairs and find the injured professor waiting there. The hero rushes over and asks the man what happened to him. He explains that leading students to the roof for safety was a mistake. A savage monster showed up and killed every single one. He grips the hero and begs him not to go upstairs. He's terrified that he'll just die. He grabs his spear and jumps to his feet. A new quest appears. He has to kill the boss and honor the professor. It says this choice will shape his destiny. He knows this is a big moment. He rallies his skeletons and they start moving up. They reach the roof. A message pops up saying they are now inside the boss room. The roof is a complete mess. It looks like the boss killed every single student here. There are just a few stray minions left hanging around. Jisoo is furious at the carnage. She wants to run in, but Seung-woo gestures for her to wait. He knows they need to stay cool. They have to be rational to survive this fight. It does not take long for the goblins to notice them. The goblins grab their weapons and start circling the group. Hanho asks if they should run, but Seung-woo wants to hold his ground. He raises his hand and activates the Berserker spell. With the buff active, his skeletons rush the little monsters and start hacking away. He tells everyone to stay behind the undead soldiers to use them as a shield. He hides behind a minion and strikes at the goblins whenever he finds an opening. Jisoo does the same thing, rushing forward to start slashing at the monsters. Meanwhile, Hanho looks pretty awkward. He really has no idea what he is doing. He is done feeling useless, so he pulls out a dagger and throws it. His aim is perfect, and the monster drops dead right away. Even he looks pretty stunned that he actually managed to do that. Who knew his old college habit of flicking pencils around would come in handy here? And without even hesitating, he flings another dagger right into the middle. Once he realizes he is actually a natural at this, he gets really focused. The goblins start losing their footing, so a debuff hits them and lowers their stats. They run off in a total panic and take cover behind a truly massive goblin. It is pretty obvious to everyone that this giant guy is the big boss monster. The boss arrives, and those little goblins suddenly feel a lot more confident. Trying to hold the line creates chaos as the boss smashes a skeleton to bits. He gets super panicked and starts barking orders for his minions to run away fast. But the boss stays in the fight and crushes one skeleton after another with his weapon. He keeps bringing them back, but his mana is dropping low, and he cannot keep going. Hanho gets brave and throws a dagger at the boss, but it just gets brushed aside. The boss is furious now and chases him down until he is screaming for some backup. His minions try to jump in, but the boss just flicks them away like nothing. One skeleton actually gets lucky and manages to land a good hit on the boss. That just makes the boss even madder, and he kicks that skeleton away with pure force. Out of nowhere, the sword girl jumps in and slashes the distracted boss. It is a solid hit for sure, but sadly, that is not quite enough to stop him. He notices she is playing a tactical game. Time for him to come up with his own plan. He traps the boss with his undead crew, then he tells one to strike from behind. The boss turns to block the skeleton. That is when he tosses the spear straight at him. It lands square on his face. The boss lets out a nasty scream of pure pain. He is running low on mana. Now he has only 3 skeletons left standing. The boss notices the opening and laughs. He thinks he has already won this fight. He lunges with his sword right away and catches him totally off guard. The boss charges at him. He realizes he needs a new idea or they are finished. Luckily, he spots a sword sitting right there on the ground. Everything shakes as the boss charges toward him. Sungwoo lets out a sigh and grips his sword tight. He sends both of his minions to rush the big monster. The boss instantly smacks one of the minions into pieces. The remaining minion jumps up and catches the sword he tosses over. The strike misses entirely because the boss is simply too fast to hit. The minion triggers a synergy effect. Attack speed goes up and the weapon feels much lighter. Plus, it activates the one-armed warrior effect. That gives an 88% chance to cause bleeding. He knows these are the exact buffs he needs to win. He grabs a chair and charges at the boss with his blade ready. Jisoo and her minion charged at him at the exact same time. He smacked him with a chair to make an opening. Then everyone rushed in to attack. But the boss slammed the ground and triggered a massive explosion. It sent everyone flying backward. Suddenly, Hanho tossed a dagger that pinned the boss right in place. The main character saw his chance. He ordered his skeleton to sacrifice itself. The little guy fought well, but its time was up. In a wild twist, the skeleton landed a lucky strike. The blade connected and triggered a nasty bleeding effect on the boss. Finally, the boss dropped defeated. That win pushed the main character up a level. He spotted the skeleton soaking up all the mana. It hit level 2 and gained commander attributes. His friends came over and said they leveled up too from the fight. The group started chatting about the loot cards they just earned. The main character picked a random skill card. Now he can use mana to shape bones into weapons. He is capped at 4 weapons for now. The power of each one depends on the quality of the bone used. With the boss down, his quest is done. He earned a new skill to spawn even more minions. He still does not really get what the destiny part of the quest meant. While he was busy thinking, a hood fell from the sky right near him. His friend grabbed it. He said it boosts their stealth against monsters by 50%. Jisoo got a fire whetstone to sharpen her blade. Now her attacks have a chance to ignite. They should test their new gear later. The main character told them to keep moving. Meanwhile, back at the cafe, the students are starting to get really worried. Even the quietest kid in the room is starting to wonder if they should have joined forces with Sungwoo against that boss. But Jinsuk hears the chatter, and he starts shouting at everyone, basically telling them to just pack their bags if they want. He tells the group that if they have any complaints, they can just head to the roof and die like our main man. The students call him out for babbling nonsense, because Sungwoo is the only one actually keeping them alive. That outburst really makes him lose his cool. He starts tossing insults, claiming the hero is gone and cannot protect them anymore. And just then, a gang of skeletons wanders up, and they scare the absolute living daylights out of him. Our protagonist strolls back in, calmly asking the guy if he really wants him to die that badly. He grabs the exit door, yanking it wide open to make his quick escape from the campus. The whole group turns back to look at Jinsuk, with those skeletons standing right there alongside them. Sungwoo stops to take a breath and asks if there is anything else he wants to say. He actually looks pretty embarrassed and makes a weird face, yet he does not say a single word. Other students start whispering that he is just a fake, playing make-believe instead of being a real leader. Ignoring all that petty drama, Sungwoo, Hanho, and Jisoo head out, with their skeleton crew tagging along behind them. Sungwoo checks the area, finds everything clear, and spots a hallway he wants everyone to follow him into. As they move forward, they find several bodies with smashed heads and various weapons scattered around. Sungwoo figures goblins did this work, and he wonders if any of them are still hiding nearby. Suddenly, Hanho gets really excited because he spots a whole bunch of people standing in the distance. Sungwoo and the rest of the crew head straight toward that group of people. They look like they are all armed, and it seems they have actually managed to survive the monsters. Jinsuk shoves forward with a huge grin on his face. He shouts a greeting to a guy named Disong. Disong spots him in the crowd instantly. He looks like he cannot believe Jinsuk actually survived. Jisoo just scowls at them while they talk. It is clear that she knows this guy from way back. Jinsuk leans in close to whisper. Jisoo and Hanho guess they are talking about Sungwoo. He just smiles and seems unbothered. Disong introduces himself as the student council president. He blabs about how much everyone has suffered. He claims they must unite to survive. Then he points a finger right at the skeletons. He demands to know what the deal is with those things. Sungwoo stays calm while explaining. He says the skeletons are just part of his special class card. The student council president looks pretty repulsed. He asks why Sungwoo would pick monsters known for killing people. Sungwoo sees right through the act. He knows the guy is just trying to paint him as a threat. Disong adds another condition. If Sungwoo wants to join their group, he has to get rid of the skeletons entirely. That comment really gets under our guy's skin. Sungwoo asks him plainly what happens if he refuses. The president makes a dramatic gesture. He asks if Sungwoo really wants those creepy skeletons tagging along everywhere. Hanho gets annoyed at that rude remark, but then he takes a look at the skeletons and actually agrees. Sungwoo still thinks they are useful. He says the skeletons are his tools. He believes evolution needs protection, and these guards are perfect. Disong just smirks at him. He says Sungwoo should not worry because they will protect him themselves. Then he asks one final time if he wants to join up with them. Jisoo is getting fed up with this guy. She steps forward clutching her sword. She says no and says his title means nothing. Disong looks her over and asks if she belongs to the sports department. She just smirks back at him. She says it does not matter because the whole university is gone anyway. He stays calm and tells them to just breathe. He asks them to think over his offer again. That really makes her snap. She calls him out for faking school checks and embezzling funds. She even reported him on the university site. He finally gives up and tells them to scram. He yells that they will regret losing his help. Imagine saying that to a skeleton master. Once they get away from the council, Sungwoo turns to Jisoo. He asks if she has a grudge against Young. She tells him that the guy is a total bully. He only shows up on campus to harass and bother the women. Hanho grumbles under his breath when he hears that. He realizes the student council president is a massive creep. She suggests they focus on leaving the campus area. They should avoid crowds because monsters seem to hunt where people gather. Sungwoo thinks about it for a second. He suggests the hill path because it hits the main gate without running into crowds. The group climbs a set of wooden stairs while the skeletons keep watch. Everything feels way too quiet right now. Without any warning, Sungwoo lifts his hand. He signals for everyone to stop moving right away. At the top of the stairs, they spot a massive orc standing over some bodies. It looks even bigger than the goblin boss. Sungwoo realizes right away that this must be the next wave of monsters. The monster does not wait at all. It swings its heavy axe into the dirt and charges straight at them. Sungwoo is a pro at this. He smiles because he sees a chance to create some brand new skeletons. But the orc rushes the skeletons and smashes them to pieces without a second thought. With the skeletons gone, it targets Jisoo. She clumsily thrusts her sword out to defend herself. The orc swings its axe onto her blade. The impact is so strong she almost falls over. As it winds up for another strike, a skeleton dives in. It shatters to save Jisoo from the blow. Sungwoo knows he cannot let the monster move any closer. He orders one of his skeletons to intercept it. That one-handed skeleton steps right up and blocks the path of the orc. The orc swings out, but the skeleton dodges and clips him on the shoulder. The hero yells for Jisoo to back up to flat ground. The stairs are way too dangerous. You can see how annoyed she is that the orc shoved her aside so easily before. Once they retreat, he warns the team that getting near that monster is a huge mistake. The orc shrugs off the hit and climbs the stairs like he owns the whole building. Meanwhile, the crew rushes toward the trees to try and pin him down for good. He tells Jisoo that the skeletons are just bait here. It really is necessary for the plan. With all these corpses on the ground, he needs to keep an eye on his mana levels. The orc pushes into the trees. As they surround him, Seungwoo tells his skeletons to attack. Right then, Hanho throws a dagger straight at the giant monster. The other skeletons jump in and hurl their weapons at the orc all at once. Two try to dash for his blind spot, but the orc smacks them into the ground. Things get pretty wild, and the skeletons manage to grab his arms to hold him tight. Seeing the chance, the hero and Jisoo rush in with their swords ready. The orc swings at Jisoo, but she slides under his arm and slashes his knee. The beast drops to one knee, just as the hero cuts clean through its right arm. That one-handed skeleton leaps into the air and delivers the final blow. Totally brutal. A window appears to show he landed 110 gold for taking out the patrol leader. He is actually shocked they managed to beat that orc boss so easily. Jisoo just shrugs and mentions it really was not as hard as the last one. He walks over to the body and tries to raise it from the dead, but the system stops him and says his level is too low for monsters that size. So he summons some plain skeletons for the group instead. Then he turns to Jisoo and asks which card she finally chose for herself. She says she grabbed the 3-star Tiger Hunter card. It turns out the only reason she picked it was because she liked the color. Now that his mana is finally back, he figures it is a good time to test out his new skills. He crafts a sword, a club, a spear, and an arrow out of bones. They are low-grade items, but he can trade them all for gold. When he lifts the axe, he is honestly really surprised. The weapons feel way lighter than he ever expected them to be. He hands that axe over to a skeleton. Now every single skeleton has a shiny new weapon to mess around with. That triggers a couple more weapon synergy buffs for the team. Now they are hitting even harder than they did before. He lends a sword to Hanho for the time being. He just reminds him to give it back to the skeleton later on. The three of them decide to start heading down the stairs together. As they are walking, Hanho catches sight of something really strange up ahead. Their path is blocked by a locked purple door. They have 8 minutes to beat the boss or the monsters get twice as strong. He is pretty annoyed this has happened twice already. An alert pops up to warn them right away. Orc squads are out hunting because they can smell other groups of hunters nearby. Jisoo realizes that bigger groups draw in more enemies. Staying in such a large group might not be the best move right now. Sure enough, an orc appears right at that moment to hunt down the student council team. Jisoo and Hanho can hear the screaming coming from just outside the building. He actually feels a weird sense of relief that they did not decide to join up with them. All three of them realize that being in a massive group is not always a smart idea. Another alert hits the screen. It looks like the first group of orcs is on the way. There are 5 monsters headed straight for us. Hanho starts to lose his cool as they get closer. He asks the main guy for a solid plan. He just gives a small smirk. He tells him that he has a pretty good idea in mind. He plans to set a trap using some cars near them and his army of skeletons. The orcs march down the street. One of them sees Hanho call them pigs and gets totally furious. The monsters charge right at him without even hesitating for a second. Right before they reach the car, a door swings open. This quickly knocks them off balance. That is the cue for the main character and Jisoo to move. She draws her sword while he uses his hidden skeletons. The skeletons swarm the orcs from every single side. They do not give the monsters any time to react. A notification pops up once the dust finally settles. Sungwoo gets 100 gold and levels up to 4. He sees he can command 7 minions now. Even with his low mana, that is a nice boost. Hanho is feeling pretty good about his new high-speed slash skill. The main character turns to Jisoo to ask her what she got. She says she bumped her strength up by 2 points. It gave her a strange, warm feeling. He tells Hanho to return the sword. Then he summons 2 more skeletons so they can keep moving forward. Hanho hands the sharp blade over to a waiting skeleton that reaches for it. As they walk away, they realize the entire city is falling into total chaos. While they are walking, Sungwoo holds up a fist. He signals the group to come to a stop. Ahead of them, a pack of orcs is attacking a bus. They are trying to kill everyone inside. So the 3 of them leaned around a tree. They counted 7 orcs over there. One guy on the bus tried to poke an orc with a spear. It really did not do much good. The main character realized they were all goners if things kept on like this. Jisoo watched 2 orcs get ready to strike. She said they really needed to help out. She suggested they flank the monsters from one side. Then the spear guy could hit from the other. Our main character doubted that spear guy had the guts for a fight. Relying on total strangers is risky. Instead, he pointed toward a truck. He said they would teach those orcs about modern civilization. A blonde guy with a shield and sword started yelling at the spear wielder inside. He was annoyed he kept missing. Kyung-soo Lee shouted back at him. He told him to fight the orcs himself if he was so tough. The passengers were shaking and crying in the back. They were sure their time was up. Suddenly, the orcs stopped smashing the bus. They turned to watch a car barreling right toward them. The truck plowed straight into the orc group. 2 of those monsters flew high into the air. The guys on the bus just sat there speechless. They could not believe what just happened. Then a bunch of skeletons jumped off the trucks. They immediately swarmed the orcs. One guy actually looked even more terrified of the skeletons than the orcs. After the fighting stopped, they wondered if the skeletons were gone now. But out of nowhere, a skeleton showed up right at their window. The man dropped his spear and fell over in fear. He started screaming at the skeleton to go away. Hanho banged on the bus door and told him to open up. The guy was terrified even knowing they were human. After finishing off the last orc, they cleared out of that area. The scene shifts over to Hanho. He's going wild on a vending machine with his hammer. Sungwoo turns around and stares at him. He asks him what exactly he is up to. Hanho just grins and gives a wink. He gets no cash but really wants a soda. He is trying to bash the machine open. That blonde guy they saved walks over. He tries buying a soda for Hanho, but the machine is totally wrecked and refuses to work. The host rubs the back of his head. He asks the group if they should keep talking about this. He points his finger at a nearby machine. He wonders if it might actually hand out some items. Sungwoo gives a nod. He explains they already tested it out before. They only had a little gold, so they tried it once. He spots an old TV with a weird sticker. It says to take what you need. He thinks following that note might really help. Suddenly, the TV screen flashes to life. A message pops up and welcomes everyone to the E-Class store. Sungwoo reaches out and taps the screen. He starts scrolling through all the available items in the shop. This looks like a store where you test your luck. It has bronze, silver, and gold rewards. It stocks items up to that gold rank. While he checks the stock, Hanho and Jisoo watch him. They ask him if the shop is actually going to work. He looks at them and says they will never find out unless they try. Hanho checks his balance and has 360 gold. Jisoo is doing better with 584 gold. Our main guy is doing even better. He has 1,552 gold. That means he can try the silver roulette spin. Best of all, he still has that unlimited rank roulette ticket. It lets him pick an item from any rank at all. Hanho stares with his mouth open. He is in total shock when the guy picks the gold roulette option. As luck would have it, he hits the jackpot. He actually gets first place on the spin. He walks off with that legendary blue orb. They call it the Tear of the Sea Spirit. It boosts his total mana by 300 and doubles his recovery rate by 200%. This is honestly the perfect find for him. He has really been struggling with his mana levels lately. Next up, he tests his luck at the silver roulette game. He snags second place and grabs a shiny new shield. Jisoo hits second place too and unlocks a skill called Leader of the Expedition Force. Poor Hanho only managed to get third place, so he just gets a bunch of potions to show for it. He honestly looks pretty bummed about the result, but Sungwoo cheers him up by saying those potions will definitely come in handy later. Jisoo points out that chaos is still happening over at the sports field. She thinks they should probably head over and help out. Hanho asks if they are going to use the same old plan again. The main character just gives a sly smile while looking at a truck. He has a much bigger plan in store this time around. Meanwhile, the student council gang is in serious trouble. They are screaming for help while fighting off a pack of orcs. Disong tells everyone to huddle up so they can finally make a break for it. He holds the enemies back with his sword while the others get ready. One of the guys mentions that there are still people trapped over in the stands. Disong just tells him to forget about them. He says they do not have time to worry about anyone else right now. Then he orders Jinsuk and Human to take the lead. Since they have shields, they are perfect for clearing the path. Suddenly, the whole group notices a bus coming out of nowhere. It slams right into the orcs from behind. The bus just obliterates the monsters without any mercy. You can hear the guy driving it laughing like a complete maniac. Once the path is clear, Hanho sticks his head out of the window. He yells for everyone to hop on board. The players outside realize they really should have stuck with them from the start. They probably realize how much they regret hanging back now. Jisoo hops out of the bus and squares off against an orc. She is looking for some payback after what happened last time. That orc takes a massive swing right at her face. She blocks the hard hit perfectly with her own sword. This time, she does not get pushed back at all. She torches that orc with her flaming blade and excitedly turns around. But she finds Sungwoo and his skeletons already finished off the others. It is honestly pretty impressive to watch how he fights. He takes down orcs while keeping a nice safe distance. It makes her feel a little bit silly, though. She dumped all her points into strength just to smash things. As she watches him shred those orcs, she cannot help but wonder what he did for a living before all this. With the orcs gone, Sungwoo turns and glares at Disong. He asks why he showed up here after dodging his skeletons earlier. Disong lets out a really nervous and awkward laugh. He asks if Sungwoo is really going to hold a grudge right now. Sungwoo looks absolutely furious as he turns to answer. He tells him point blank that he saw him leave people behind to die. Disong tries to claim he was just pulling back to group up his team. But everyone sitting on that bus knows he is full of it. While they are arguing, a system alert pops up about the orc chief going completely berserk. Sungwoo jumps up and lands on the bus. He tells Disong that the only way he stays on is by following orders. The first order of business is giving up his armor. Disong starts complaining to him right away. He asks how he is supposed to keep his body safe without any armor on. Sungwoo just smiles at him with a grin. He says there is nothing to worry about since he is under his protection now. As they pull away, a system notification says he finally hit level 5. He figures he can now control medium-sized monsters. Another alert pops up telling him his limit for monsters has gone up. He is feeling pretty good knowing he can command 9 monsters at once. He notices some sudden movement coming from behind him. A skeleton is wearing the armor he grabbed from Disong. He wonders if it is too heavy to move in. He thinks back on their past fights and realizes this specific skeleton is way more reliable than the others. He lets out a sigh and tells the skeleton to get undressed. The poor guy looks at him like his world is ending. While that happens, he pulls some chainmail right over his white t-shirt. Hanho walks over and points back to the big group of people waiting for them. He mentions they might need to grab another bus if they want to keep saving everyone. but the hero tells him they are done with rescue missions for the moment. He heads to the crowd with Jisoo and Hanho close by. The bus starts to sway, so he grabs the rail to steady himself. He tells them it is time to take on the orcs. Suddenly, a system window pops up right in front of them. It says the orc boss started a massive attack on everyone. Monsters will hunt down every survivor until there is no one left. Sungwoo looks at the people with a hopeful expression. He reminds them that the game rules mean they cannot hide from orcs forever. They have to take down the boss to get out of this. A guy in a tracksuit with bandaged fingers raises his hand to speak. He says he spotted a ton of orcs hanging out in the gym. He estimates there are about 100 of them in total. That news completely freaks everyone in the crowd out. Then the system sends a warning about penalties for bad teamwork. Just like that, 3 new system alerts pop up. The first one says at least 10 players are below level 5. That slows them down and cuts their attack speed. The second says 10 people haven't killed a single monster yet. That is hurting their attack power and gold earnings. A third message warns that most people are too scared to actually fight. Now their chances of getting confused in battle are way higher. Sungwoo lets out a long and heavy sigh. He realizes they might be able to handle most of that orc army, but he sees exactly what he is working with here. The crowd stares back at him in total shock. He just announced he's going to fight the orcs all on his own. He thinks having a weapon is useless if you do not know how to handle it. Jisoo and Hanho try to change his mind. He just tells them the same thing all over again. The people in the crowd just stare right at him. They honestly think he might have finally lost his mind. The student council members share a smirk with each other. They see this as the perfect chance to get rid of him for good. Jinseok watches the entire scene unfold from the window. He calls him a fool and says he will be dead in no time. Jisoo thinks that is a really terrible plan. She tries one last time to talk him out of going solo. He brought up the first floor. She wanted to split up back then. His skeletons hit way harder than that group on the bus. Honestly, dragging dead weight along just does not make any sense. Jisoo thinks hard about his logic. He is usually right about these things. Still, the situation today is way more intense than anything they have seen before. Sungwoo steps onto the open field with his skeleton crew. Everyone behind the campus windows is watching him, nervous. His friends are parked in that bus not too far away. They are just there to bail him out if things get ugly. Sungwoo stops cold in the middle of the grass. Suddenly, dark shapes start popping up all over the place. The orcs let out a massive roar. They start rushing across the field straight at him. He scans for the orc chief, but the system says nothing. Since he gets no alerts, he assumes it is a mid-level boss. The red orc raises his axe right at him and lets out a nasty growl. He walks over to the stands and orders his minions forward. The shield makes a rough creak as he drops it onto the ground. He sets himself up at the top of the stairs. This is where he will hold his ground. The orcs roar while charging the stairs. His skeletons lift their daggers, ready to fight. He triggers his wild berserker skill instantly. This boosts his goblin attacks and raw power. Instead of closing the gap, the skeletons start chucking their daggers at the orcs. A few orcs go down, but the boss blocks the blades easily. He panics seeing his range attack fail. Telling his skeletons to charge feels like a suicide run. The orc boss shreds every skeleton. Righty just stares ahead, flames burning in his eyes. Sungwoo puts his hand on the skeleton's skull. He tells him just to hold on for now. The orcs smirk at him after tearing through all his summoned skeletons. Out of nowhere, one of those things gets slammed from behind. It turns out an undead orc warrior is standing right there. Sungwoo has him under his control now. A notification appears because their teamwork unlocked a synergy effect. He gets a boost to speed and attack for 10 seconds. He needs to have 5 axes ready for this. Those orcs just do not stand a chance. Since the undead never get tired and feel no pain, they just keep pushing forward. Sungwoo and Righty hang back on the stairs. They watch his army of undead crush the enemy forces down below. Students at the window are watching in total shock. They can hardly believe one person is soloing that entire mob. Beyond all this chaotic fighting, Jisoo and Han-ho are watching with the bus driver. Jisoo suddenly recalls a conversation she had with Sung-woo. Her eyes widen as she realizes he predicted exactly this. The main character checks his mana stats on the screen. He feels pretty good seeing the numbers climb higher. This might all be happening because of that legendary item he is carrying. Ghostly skulls start appearing in the air around them. The system notes that the scent of death is weakening the enemies. The orcs get spooked and try to run away. But their leader lets out a massive roar. It is enough to shake off most of that debuff effect. With a fierce shout, the orcs turn back around to charge. The undead army is lying in wait for them on the other side. Righty jumps onto the fence above our guy. He sprints ahead to catch up with the rest of the undead force. The skeleton starts slashing at the orcs with its blade as it joins the fray. Sung-woo gives the sign. The skeleton dives right into the mess with the undead crowd. The fight finally ends, so he relaxes on the stairs with a sigh. A message pops up saying he defeated 100 monsters. He earns a lottery ticket and reaches infinite status as the 21st player. It turns out that 20 other players have already managed to grab that exact same prize. That is when he hears a bus engine humming nearby. Someone is trying to drive it off and make a clean getaway. But they slam right into that pink wall and come to a total stop. Sung-woo gets annoyed seeing the student council getting swarmed by orcs. They are the ones who were trying to escape. They are screaming for help while the monsters try their best to kidnap them. He just buries his face in his hand. He hates that they disobeyed him and made this situation so much worse. As Sung-woo gets ready to save them, he urges the other students to help out. He usually likes fighting alone, but he lets them help if they clear a path for his skeletons. He walks into the building with 2 of his undead orcs right behind him. You can see the bodies of defeated goblins hanging down from the ceiling. The inside of the building is seriously creepy and honestly kind of terrifying. The whole group freezes when a light glows through the smoke. A monster with glowing eyes appears. Sung-woo grips his orb and wonders if he is looking at the main boss. He tells everyone to get ready because they are about to face the orc boss. The hostages look bloodied and battered, and some are even missing teeth. He feels relieved that nobody died yet. It is strange that orcs have the brains to take hostages. The student council members look at him and desperately beg for some help. He glares at them and says this mess is their fault for putting everyone in danger. He decides to go all in to look strong. He plans to hit the orcs with a surprise attack to save everyone. Suddenly, one of the orcs swings its heavy axe. It slices the student president's head right off his body. That is just a brutal sight to watch. Everyone watching is frozen in total, complete shock. But the scary part is that this is just the start. Then the real boss crawls out from the top of the building. He casts a strange spell that turns everyone's legs into wobbly jelly. Jisoo gets hit with system alerts one after another. She is stuck in a daze because that abyss breath is draining her magic. Now the boss finally makes his big move. He is practically a junior black magician level fighter. You should really think of him like a shaman. Han-ho's hands are shaking pretty bad right now. He is really struggling to take the lid off that bottle. He drinks it to recover his mana and offers one to Sung-woo as well. Sung-woo just says no thanks to him. He tells Han-ho to pass it to Jisoo instead. Sung-woo just smirks while breathing in all that dark energy. He actually feels totally refreshed by all of it. A system message pops up saying his mana is over 4,000 now. That is why he feels so strong. His first awakening buff kicked in because of that breath. He can summon even more monsters than ever before. He glows with pure mana as he walks forward. It is actually funny to see someone try black magic on a necromancer. He grins at the boss and asks what he just tried to do. The boss is looking totally confused right now. He never expected this kind of situation to happen. Jisoo catches up to Sung-woo and begs him to attack with the rest of the group. Sungwoo gives a creepy smile as his body glows with mana. He tells her that everything is about to change now. The army of undead drifts slowly into the air. Hanho watches as the bodies on the roof wake up. He stares at his screen in total shock as the synergy buffs load. Meanwhile, Sungwoo looks like an absolute terrifying monster. He is ready to show the boss what real death feels like. Those orc shamans start crushing the undead warriors into little bits. But then a system message pops up saying those skeletons will definitely revive. The shaman keeps knocking down these skeletons, but they just get right back up. It is getting kind of old, honestly. Sungwoo just brings them all back the second they hit the floor. The poor orc shaman is starting to look totally wiped out. Check him out, he is practically the raid boss now. He asks the shaman if he even knows who he is dealing with. With those glowing eyes, he locks onto the shaman. He tells him that this is the real face of death. The shaman is losing it. He has zero idea how to actually take this guy down. He tries to run for it, but the undead army is already surrounding him from every angle. Sungwoo just watches him. He says that running away from death is honestly a pretty silly move. The shaman screams as a huge pile of skeletons jumps on him from all sides. He tries to fight back, but the odds are just way too stacked against him. Finally, Riddy lands the final hit. She puts him out of his misery for good. Sungwoo grabs 1,055 gold for taking down that junior black magician. After taking out the orc chief, Riddy soaks up his mana. Her rank goes up too. Sungwoo realizes his minions need these kills to level up. He pulls up a list of his undead units. He counts 33 skeletons altogether. One of them is already a level 3 veteran. While he is looking at the list, Hanho yells him over. Something is sliding out of the boss monster's mouth. Sungwoo takes a look at it. It is an item that gives devil attributes but requires many sacrifices to remove. He is not sure what devil attributes actually do, though. He figures it is just like his usual necromancer powers. He decides to put the item on anyway. It gives him devil attributes and lets him drain enemy mana on every hit. Suddenly, every single skeleton turns into dust. The orc shaman's spell must have finally worn off. The main group heads back to the students. They start cheering for the guys because the boss fight was brutal. They call him a hero, but he does not really care about the praise. He feels much better keeping to himself. Having too many people just hurts his survival chances. The boss is finally down, so the magical seal breaks. The exit doors swing wide open for everyone. The students wonder if they can actually leave now. They start talking and debating their next steps together. A few of them decide that following Sungwoo is their safest bet. Hanho checks his phone with a worried look. He tells Sungwoo that this catastrophe is global. It makes him wonder if his parents are okay right now. When he hears that, Sungwoo starts thinking about his own parents. A bus pulls up and stops suddenly in front of them. Kyungsu shouts and tells everyone to hop on quickly. Being an army driver, he knows where the military base is. Sungwoo just smiles and lies to his face. He says he cannot go because his home is right nearby. Kyungsu tells the students to load up the buses. They brought 2 so everyone can fit inside safely. Everyone except the main group hops on board. The guy waves goodbye to Sungwoo and drives away. After they leave, Hanho wonders what they should do next. He asks Jisoo where she lives. She says she lived in the school dorms. Her actual family lives far away on a distant island. She asks Sungwoo if she can stay with him. She warns him that she might not be very helpful. He reassures her that she will be useful and tells her she can stay. Hanho asks if he can stay with them too. Sungwoo jokes that he needs to cut off his hand, just like Rightly. Suddenly, Jisoo tackles both of them to the ground. She does it to protect them from something. As they hit the dirt, a massive dragon flies right over their heads. They stare at the giant beast. They have no idea what it is. The bus screeches to a stop. Kyungsu sees a group of dragons following them. Someone screams at him to keep moving, but he knows better. He says moving now is way too dangerous for everyone. It turns out those dragons only hunt the buses that are still rolling. Suddenly, a system notification pops up for the whole group. It says the boss, Wyvern Alpha Male, has landed. Right away, that dragon slams onto the bus. It lifts the whole thing up and rips it to pieces. Sungwoo watches the disaster. He realizes he's not strong enough yet, but he knows he can definitely get stronger. He turns to Jisoo and says they're done running. Now they're going to hunt these monsters down. Jisoo looks confused and asks him what he means. He explains that they can't just keep adapting to things. If they keep running, they're just becoming easier snacks for the monsters. To truly make it out alive, they need to be the ones in control. He clenches his fist tightly, then he leads the group straight toward a pack of orcs. The players and orcs lock eyes, and a message says the tutorial is over. If that was just the tutorial, I don't want to see the real game. The fight begins, and Sungwoo calls out his skeleton army. They move in to trap a group of minions. The goblins try to escape, but he has every exit blocked off. The skeletons get to work. They slash at the goblins while they scramble, trying to save their own lives. Every time a skeleton gets a kill, Sungwoo earns some extra gold. After they clear out the whole group, he levels up. Hanho finally pops up and laughs, bragging that he handled everything by himself. Sungwoo just sighs and says those were only small fry. He doesn't think random goblins are really going to help them much. He checks his stats and decides to put all his points into strength. As soon as he picks the strength card, he can feel his body changing. His skeletons keep taking down the goblins, and he keeps raking in the gold. He walks out and catches sight of Jisoo. She is standing there with her sword drawn and ready to fight. She offers him a small smile. She claims there were 9 goblins total, and she handled every single one by herself. He glances over at Hanho. He tells him to start picking up all the daggers those goblins left behind. The guy starts loading everything he finds into an icebox. As they prepare to head out, he tells the group to ignore all goblins from here on. Jisoo looks at him and asks if he is planning on hunting stronger monsters instead. He explains that goblins pay 10 gold while orcs go for 80. He is hunting for monsters with better payouts. They keep walking down the empty streets. There is not another living soul in sight anywhere. All of a sudden, Hanho spots some army trucks parked off in the distance. A pile of dead soldiers is lying right there in their path. As they get closer, they notice the soldiers are only holding shovels instead of real weapons. A soldier jumps out with a shovel. He looks terrified of the skeletons behind them and asks if they are human. Sungwoo gives him a friendly wave. He smiles and promises that they are human and completely harmless. The soldier yells out for his sergeant. He lets him know that there are some people outside. The leader walks over to meet the sergeant through the window. He apologizes for this awkward meeting. He explains that he cannot walk out because his leg is hurt. Sungwoo spots the wound and realizes immediately that he was stabbed by a goblin. Sergeant Kim sounds pretty bummed out. He was stabbed by a minion the size of a kid, but they still beat the monsters. Sungwoo stares at the sergeant in confusion. He asks why they do not have any guns to use. The sergeant explains that their rifles have completely stopped firing for some reason. It was not a simple mechanical glitch. Their guns died when those monsters showed up. They had to fight with only shovels and simple blades. Hanho notices the state the sergeant is in. He quietly tells Sungwoo that he has a few healing potions left. Kim sees the bottle and moves closer to the window. He asks if he can have some for himself. Sungwoo looks away and simply shakes his head. He says they cannot spare supplies they might need to survive later. The sergeant hears that and pokes his head out of the truck. He offers to trade some information for the medicine instead. He says he will tell them everything he has seen and heard so far. Sungwoo thinks it over and decides he wants to hear it first. Kim explains that wolves as big as bulls are roaming everywhere. They could not even kill one before his squad was overrun. And there is something else you should know. He mentions seeing 2 mysterious QR codes so far. One is at the station, while the other is in the subway transfer center. The sergeant pulls out his phone and tells them to scan the codes. It installs a special app on their devices. It is the only way to talk to other survivors now. All other communication channels have gone dark. Sungwoo hands over the potion while thinking about this survivor network. The sergeant asks about their future plans. He confirms that he is headed off to find his unit. Sungwoo asks if he will really be safe once he gets back there. Kim admits that superiors took their weapons and forced them to use shovels. He hopes they have changed their minds by now. Sungwoo tells him they have their own destination to reach today. As Kim gets ready to head out, he gives them a warning about the skies. The sergeant starts sweating when he hears about the giant dragons flying overhead. He says his goodbyes and keeps moving. His friends are right there, along with an army of skeletons following him. They arrive at the station as a group. That is where they find their very first QR code. Hanho actually worries it might give him a virus. It is so funny to care about phone safety during an apocalypse. The app allows every player to swap info using a news feed and a board for messages. The game admin also uses that same setup to drop major updates for everyone. Sungwoo looks at an admin post and really wonders who is behind all this mess. He checks the message board for news. It is totally empty for the time being. Jisoo points out that posting a single message costs 1,000 gold. Out of nowhere, player 4884 posts that they have a safe zone in Huisheng City. A stranger in the comments even asked how to get there. Hanho realizes that address is right near his home. Sungwoo asks if they should go check it out. He wonders how they spent so much gold. They are barely level 6, but this group is already level 8. He keeps reading the post. He thinks to himself that something about it just feels completely off. He still wants to meet some strong survivors. He keeps walking toward the address listed in the post. Suddenly, his phone gives a loud beep. He sees that a comment under the post was deleted. Someone asked about the change, and the author claimed the guy was just talking trash. This feels really weird to Sungwoo. Meanwhile, we see a muscular guy holding a phone off in the distance. A creepy grin spreads across his face. He knows another victim has walked right into his trap. It is a bright, sunny day. A man is desperately fighting off minions to protect his daughter with only a bat. He realizes he cannot hold them off anymore. He starts screaming at the top of his lungs for help. Everyone else just stays put in their homes. They watch it all happen instead of actually helping out. Out of nowhere, a dagger flies out and hits one of the monsters. It happens just as they get close. Then an undead orc shows up, and it starts swinging its axe at the enemies. The man is looking on in total confusion, while Sungwoo's army saves him at the last second. Sungwoo reaches out his hand to help him up. He tells the man that he is finally safe. The man is shaking as he says there is no food at his house. Sungwoo gives him some cans from his bag because it is all he has. Those minions try to make a run for it. The skeleton army catches them and finishes them off without any trouble. They chase the rest toward the stairs. That is when they spot an old dungeon sign. Hanho looks at the leader and asks if they should head down there to finish the fight. But that guy jumps in. He stops them before they can even get near the basement door. He gives them a serious warning. He says something way more dangerous is hiding under that floor. Sungwoo just gives him a smile. He thanks the man for giving them the heads up. They go downstairs anyway. Right away, they get a notification about the Elder Slime Shrine location. As they move deeper inside, they come across a minion. It has goopy slime all over its head. An orc destroys the slime with his axe. They earn 140 gold for every kill. Hanho starts complaining that his dagger is melting away. Sungwoo explains to him that skeletons are immune to that acid. Suddenly, Hanho hears a weird noise. He turns around and finds himself facing a giant slime monster. That massive monster does not waste time and takes out a skeleton minion with one hit. Sungwoo thinks to himself that the slime will just crunch and chew if it can't dissolve the target. Every skeleton strike just glances off the slime. It is way too thick for these guys to handle. He needs a better strategy soon. He decides to morph the bones into actual weapons instead. Stop with the useless grunting. He starts crafting weapons and launching them at the slime from afar. Jisoo throws a skeleton his way. He immediately transforms it into yet another sharp bone weapon. While he works, the slime suddenly lunges. He snatches an orc warrior to use as a shield. That did not work out well. The slime just gobbles up his minions and destroys them completely. Surprisingly, he just smiles. That skeleton he fed the slime was holding a bag of bones. He uses his skill to shape those bones into weapons. The slime basically tears itself apart internally. The skeletons swarm in to smash the mass into pieces. Now it cannot come back together. The one-armed skeleton delivers the final blow. They walk away with 2,255 gold. Sungwoo tells the team to collect the slime. They might actually need that acid for later. While they are scooping it up, a skeleton finds the monster core tucked inside. The core melts and fuses items. He uses a cloth to grab it, wondering if it acts as a reagent. Then Hanho waves him over. He wants him to see the comments on that online forum post. Tons of comments are disappearing. Other players keep asking why, but the poster just ignores them. Someone asks about the guys searching for them. Player 4884 says they never showed. They likely got lost. Hanho thinks it is super shady how they keep deleting all those messages. Sungwoo knows something is fishy. They paid 1,000 gold for that post and keep paying for comments. We cut to a parking garage with some guys. One asks why hunt monsters when player killing pays better. A normal kill nets 500 gold. Players are worth over 1,000 depending on their level. The other guy laughs and says hunting players is easier. Plus, they seem to get a real kick out of it. Two of the other guys are sitting in the car. One of the guys asks about their boss. The leader looks like he has lost his mind. He clutches his head as if it might explode. He screams out the name of Professor Red. The other guy looks like he is pretty spooked. He asks if he is talking about the serial killer. Suddenly, the guy starts having a weird flashback. He remembers back to being attacked by a monster. That creature turns out to be a vampire. It stares right at him with its sharp teeth. It says it has a real need for people like him. Meanwhile, the main character pulls out his sharp sword. He asks Hanho if he is capable of killing someone. After that bite, the man turned into a low-ranking vampire. He keeps wondering how things went so sideways. He only came to loot a convenience store with his crew. Then the monster bit him and changed him into a vampire. Once he turned, he started killing all his gang members. The vampire watched him with a cruel smile. He then slaughtered them all one by one. The boss drank blood from the dead guys. He truly did not feel like a human anymore. The vampire told him to just keep feeding. He said they would meet again once he grew stronger. The boss finally snaps out of the memory. The guy in the car is shouting at him. Another guy walks up to the car window. He asks him if there is a problem. The boss says everything is fine, then asks what he wants. The guy holds up his phone to show his boss their target has arrived. Player 157 commented on the post again. He is with two others and wants to meet at the park. So the boss commands him to head straight for the park. He gets an evil grin on his face. The park is just too easy for luring in morons. None of the residents dare to speak up. They all act way too scared to even try. The boss actually plans to kill them all once he runs out of victims to toy with. The driver slams the brakes when he sees figures ahead on the road. They are all wearing hoods and facing away. Sadly, it is impossible to see any of their faces. The boss absolutely loses control when he spots the group. He screams at the driver to just floor it and run them over. The guy follows orders and slams into the group at full speed. But suddenly white bones just go flying everywhere. It turns out those hoods were hiding skeletons instead of people. Seungwoo uses the bones to create spikes that smash right into the car. The driver loses control and the car ends up crashing. The boss is left feeling completely lost and confused. He has no idea what is going on. Someone suddenly smashes the car window and drags him outside. They throw him down hard onto the cold ground. The lead character grabs the phone and asks if he is the one who posted it. A sword is pointed right at his head. He is way too terrified to say a word. The hero got suspicious after seeing those deleted comments. He thought it over and realized these guys had to be gaining something from it. They decided to set some bait for the enemy, but he never expected them to just try and run them over. The big boss glares at Seungwoo, acting hard like he should know his reputation. Seungwoo doesn't bother talking back. He just plants a heavy boot right in the guy's face. With a flat expression, he asks how many cronies are hiding upstairs. He threatens to rip his head off for any lies. The guy just chuckles, like he finds the whole situation hilarious. He lunges forward to attack and asks if Seungwoo has even tasted blood before. Suddenly, Righty pops out of nowhere. A quick swing of his sword slices the guy's arm clean open. The guy lets out a nasty scream as blood sprays all over the place. Seungwoo looks at him with utter disgust. He says that even in this messed-up world, murder isn't his hobby. But his skeletons, they play by different rules. An orc skeleton lifts its axe for the final blow, yet the guy keeps right on laughing. Seungwoo wonders if the shock of the pain was enough to break his mind. He turns to the other lackey and calmly asks if they should start by removing his arms or legs. That guy does not want any part of this. He quickly panics and admits there are 8 people waiting upstairs. Before he can get another word out, his boss slashes him down with those sharp claws. Hanho and Jisoo watch this in pure disbelief. Their own leader just took out his own teammate. The ripped arm looks weird, almost like it morphed into a pointed blade. He tears the guy's head right off and starts drinking up the blood. Naturally, chugging that blood heals his wounds and gives his stats a nice little bump. The guy used to be a 3-star ninja, but that bite turned him into a low-rank vampire. In this special class, you do not level up. Instead, you just steal the stats of every player you take down. The guy stands up and lets out an angry roar, triggering his berserk mode instantly. That little outburst kicks every one of his stats up by 20%. The main character realizes there is another class out there even more gruesome than his own. The group sets up a defensive line with skeletons in front. Seungwoo knows one wrong move means the vampire wipes them out entirely. He tells his army to strike, but the guy is way too fast. He quickly switches the skeletons back to defense. The vampire slices right through the skeleton wall and charges straight for the main character. He knows he has to drop the boss first because he controls all the undead. Seungwoo just barely gets his shield up before the guy lunges with that nasty sharp arm. Jisoo lands a slash on the vampire from behind, but the guy just laughs it off. He shifts his focus immediately and starts going after her instead. While he is busy trying to hit her, a few daggers catch him from behind. He glances back to see Hanho standing there, smiling with 2 daggers in his hands. Hanho starts firing those daggers at the vampire like a total machine gun. That just annoys him even more, so he switches his target again. In a flash, the vampire launches himself at Hanho, leaving no time to react. Luckily, his attack gets parried at the final second by Righty. The vampire dodges the blade, but Seungwoo charges him from behind with an axe. The vampire reads the move again and destroys the axe. Seungwoo tries shielding himself, but the monster is just too strong. He keeps weaving through their moves and tells them they are barely moving. While he is focused on Seungwoo, Jisoo slips up behind him and swings a flaming blade. He notices the incoming strike and sidesteps out of the range just in time. He chuckles and says that he saw that move coming from a long way off. Righty jumps on him immediately and slices deep into his left arm with a sword. The vampire lets out a scream as his whole arm gets chopped off clean. Seungwoo sees his opening and signals for all the skeletons to swarm him at once. Right then, the vampire's henchmen arrive and rush into the clearing to back him up. He smiles at them and says that their timing is actually pretty perfect for once. But his men look terrified when they see the state he is in right now. While he is distracted looking at them, Jisoo catches him with a solid sword strike. Righty and the other skeletons charge in and hammer the vampire with attacks as well. He tries to recover, but the main character plunges a sword right into his throat. He asks if the guy can fix his head too, then rips it right off. Since the guy was a level 1 player, he gets 1,000 gold for that kill. The main character is shocked to realize that you can actually earn gold by killing people. He glances at the rest of the gang and asks if that is why they kill. The group starts trembling in pure fear, while the skeletons circle around them to close in. The main character walks closer and orders them to drop all of their gear right now. They give up right away and toss their weapons on the floor. Once he digs for answers, one guy mentions their mysterious leader. Oddly, they have no clue who he actually is. They just followed orders, unaware he could morph into a monster. Sungwoo wonders if that boss is the mastermind behind the monsters. If so, what kind of crazy class does he even have? That makes him wonder if there are classes out there ranked higher than 5 stars. He turns to the group and asks how many people they have taken out. Hearing they killed over 21 people is enough for him. He signals his skeletons to finish them off. They beg for mercy and claim they were just following orders. He does not care and shows zero pity. He knows leaving them alive is a massive mistake. It would only lead to more victims down the road. She is pretty shocked by what went down. Still, she finds herself agreeing with his call. A new comment pops up warning Sungwoo against that group. Apparently, they are nothing but a group of murderers. The sergeant reads that and blows a fuse. Regular people are out here hunting others like monsters. Then he spots a comment about user 157. He used his skeletons to trap and wipe out those killers. While reading that, the sergeant flashes a smile. He realizes this is the same group he met earlier. A soldier tries mentioning an incoming call, but he waves him off. He is clearly focused on their saviors doing great things. The scene shifts to an armored guy reading the comments. He is thankful that Sungwoo is looking out for people. The guy then steps into the bright light. He asks his squad if it is time to start moving. While walking down the road, Hanho points out a brand new post. The prosecutor of Yangjunpo made a post for players who cannot afford the 1,000 gold fee. Players share info on missing family or monster tips. That thread is a huge help for those short on gold. The team finally arrives at the entrance of Hanho's home. He stares at his home looking worried and just hopes his parents made it out okay. Seungwoo tells him to relax and move carefully since they have no idea what is happening inside. They spot a bunch of dead orcs while climbing the stairs, and that just spikes Hanho's anxiety. Before opening his apartment door, he starts praying that his parents are still safe in there. Then he sees a giant slash mark right across the door, and it totally terrifies him. He shouts for his mom to hurry up and open the door. The door swings open, and his parents are standing right there with really concerned expressions. Once they start catching up, he finds out neither of them bothered to pick up a class card. His dad shrugs and says those cards just did not catch his interest at all. While they eat, Seungwoo wonders how they managed to keep those orcs away on their own. Most of the apartment doors in the building were busted open, but theirs was totally untouched. His dad explains that he used normal pesticides to stop the monsters, which leaves everyone completely stunned. His mom beams with pride and says the orcs just bolted the second he started spraying them. Hanho nearly chokes and drops his drink while he listens to that crazy story. After dinner, his mom makes sure to thank Seungwoo and Jisoo for helping her son get home. She offers them some simple green tea, mentioning they do not have anything else to serve right now. Hanho tries to brag that he helped by throwing daggers, but his mom just totally ignores him. While everyone rests inside, some strange kids on bikes notice the lights and give a creepy smirk. Jisoo is the first one to finish up her shower. His mom feels bad for Jisoo because she seems so frail. But in reality, she is 30 times stronger than Manhwa. He finally takes a shower and feels a huge wave of relief. He is glad that both of his friends' parents are safe. His dad managed to trick the orcs using their incredible sense of smell. Otherwise, they all would have ended up like the other players. Even with the world falling to pieces, there is still one positive thing. After cleaning their weapons, Manhwa asks about their next move. He knows they cannot stay in this place forever. Seungwoo tells him that they need to pick a destination before moving out. He thinks those early orcs were just scouts. If more are nearby, they could easily be facing a massive fight. The problem is they have no clear idea where to go. While he thinks, Manhwa shoves his phone in his face. He yells at him to take a look. He says the guy who asked for those comments just posted another update. That player claims to have a safe zone at the Yangdong Post Station. He says his 3-star friend helped him, but he needs gold or supplies to run it. Jisoo asks if they should trust the guy. Manhwa thinks the man genuinely wants to help others. Seungwoo is not so sure. He tells them he finally understands why the guy posted that message yesterday. They spent 1,000 gold just to open that message board for survivors. It is unlikely they are doing this just to be kind. He tells them to check out the comments, which are full of praise. Seungwoo thinks he is only farming for a good reputation. They probably plan to form a huge group. Soon enough, all the resources they need will just walk right to them. Manhwa is stunned that the guy did all of that just for himself. The main guy says he might be overthinking it. Besides, the station is way too far for them to travel there anyway. Suddenly, Manhwa finds a comment from Chief Gu. He claims he has another safe zone at the Huasheng Fortress, but he demands rent. The main character isn't sure about the rent thing, but the safe zone sounds interesting. He asks his friend how long it takes to reach the fortress. Manhwa says it is only a 20-minute bus ride away. Since it is not far at all, he decides that is where they are heading next. As they prepare to take off, he apologizes to the parents for forcing them to tag along. The dad just smiles and says it is perfectly fine. He is just happy his son is safe, so he is glad to follow. Manhwa's mom adds that there are bandits roaming around the neighborhood besides monsters. That catches him off guard. He asks exactly what she means by that. The dad explains that they are just some high school punks riding motorcycles and robbing people. Seungwoo sighs. He really does not want to deal with petty criminals on top of everything else. Suddenly, they hear the distinct sound of a motorcycle approaching them. They look back and see a group of teenagers playing tough guys. The group pulls over and tells them to hand over all their supplies immediately. Those kids even try to threaten them with baseball bats and their numbers. The guy smiles and asks if they are really sure about those numbers. Then, glowing eyes appear right behind him. The teens immediately turn around and run off before he gets another word out. That leaves his whole group totally confused, since they have no idea what scared them. He turns around with a worried look and sees giant wolves staring right at them. Since the wolves are not attacking yet, he suggests they start backing away very slowly. He doesn't want to fight monsters that run on 4 legs in close combat. Even ignoring their fangs and claws, their balance is just too dangerous. If anyone in his group tripped and fell, they would not make it out alive. They slowly retreat back into the apartment building. Manhwa nervously asks if they are actually safe inside. The wolves are not leaving. He knows this thin wall is not going to stop them for long. He is busy plotting his next move when a wolf slams straight into the front wall. Without missing a beat, Seungwoo hurls a bottle of acid right at the beast. While the wolf is busy panicking, he commands his skeletons to shower it with spears. Ranged attacks are the only real upper hand they have right now. Another wolf tries to force its way in, so he sends an orc skeleton to intercept. The wolf bites the head off that skeleton, but then acid starts leaking from its own jaws. He just laughs. It turns out that skeleton was holding a trap filled with slime mucus. To finish the job, Righty leaps down from the first floor and stabs the monster in the head. That kill nets him 240 gold. The last wolf is genuinely terrified as the skeletons close in with their spears drawn. It does not take them long to finish the pack. He gains some experience and hits level 7. Jisoo admits she feels like a burden, but he tells her the situation was just really tough. He realizes that even though she is a tiger hunter, her pure strength focus makes her a specialist. Han Ho, on the other hand, does not really seem to be gaining any power at all. He tries to control a wolf, but fails because his level is too low. They should keep moving since more monsters might be nearby. Somewhere else, a military helicopter is desperately trying to outrun a flock of flying dragons. The captain is screaming for more speed, but the pilot says they are already at the max. He yells at Sergeant Kim for the lack of info. The pilot reminds him that he ignored those reports earlier. Out of nowhere, a new alert pops up. It says the field boss wyvern has appeared. That dragon just grabs the helicopter with its claws. It wrecks the thing like it's made of paper. Then it lands right on top of a massive building. It lets out a seriously huge roar. Sung Woo and the rest of his group see it all happen. You can tell they are absolutely terrified. Han Ho really hoped that military Chopper could fight off the monsters. It turns out he was completely wrong about that. His dad points out something worrying. It looks like those dragons plan to sleep right on that roof. They are way too close to the safe zone. Nobody can move anywhere while that beast is hanging around. Sung Woo tells everyone those dragons will leave eventually. He suggests they just try to get some rest. Night falls and the dragons drift off to sleep on the buildings. Meanwhile, the group rests below on the ground. Suddenly, the main character sees a flash. A system alert pops up just like at the start of the apocalypse. It is time for the second phase of card selection. Han Ho yells at his parents to avoid low star cards. He does not want them to mess up like he did. His dad just laughs and says he has 20 years of experience with cards. Sung Woo starts looking around to check out the cards. He realizes there are only 15 seconds left on the clock. Since he already picked his first card, this one will be a secondary class. It will add to what he currently has. Right in front of him, one of the cards suddenly vanishes into thin air. That is when he realizes that other people are grabbing the cards too. Han Ho is searching carefully. He really wants to find a card with the most stars. The main character knows better than to just chase star ratings. He needs a class that actually works well with what he already has. Eventually, he spots the perfect card for his needs. He picks it without a second thought. He grabbed a 3-star link card for the Dark Mage class. The system says it will merge with his current card for new skills. He checks out his loot and can't help but smile. Everything here is a perfect match for his Necromancer class. Meanwhile, poor Han Ho is basically sobbing over there. He messed up and picked a 1-star priest card by mistake. His new skill blocks all incoming attacks for 10 seconds after he lands a kill. While he is busy boo-hooing, his dad asks if he picked a good card. He looks at his dad's card. It is a 3-star pioneer class which lets him set up safe zones. Sung Woo lights up when he hears that. This means they can skip the trip to the fortress. Han Ho's dad keeps bragging. Defeated, Han Ho turns to his mom and asks what she grabbed. Turns out she picked the 1-star chef class card. Han Ho complains that she should have picked something useful for fighting. While he whines, Sung Woo chats with Jisoo about her card. She scored a 3-star hitman card. It gives her a passive skill that sharpens her senses whenever danger is near. She takes a look at him and realizes he has become incredibly strong. He knows exactly how to handle himself in a fight. He makes smart, calm choices even when things get intense. Jisoo feels like she will never reach his level. Still, she needs to get stronger on her own terms. She is determined to toughen up her heart and her body. Sung Woo interrupts and asks the dad to explain his skill a bit better. The Pioneer class creates a camp for shelter. It costs 10 mana every 10 minutes to run. It has a limited area and strong hits can break it. If he runs out of mana, it costs 100 gold every 10 minutes. Sung-woo thinks it will be a pain to keep that zone running here. Plus, inviting a bunch of people over sounds like a bad idea. He suggests they save the skill for true emergencies. They just need to find a better spot for it. Han-ho asks if they can skip the fortress trip. Sung-woo peeks outside and says it is not needed anymore. He figures the other survivor groups will just abuse their power. It is safer to avoid them. Suddenly, he sees the dragon moving outside. The dragons finally fly away into the distance. Now they are finally free to leave the building. The MC turns to Han-ho and asks him to scour the forum for store locations. Sung-woo has over 24,000 gold right now. He knows he needs to spend it to get stronger because high-level monsters could show up anytime. Han-ho goes through the whole forum, but he still cannot find where the stores are. All of a sudden, they hear the distinct sound of motorcycle engines nearby. Now that the dragons have finally left, those kids are out and about again. Han-ho tells the MC that it is probably those same kids they met yesterday. The MC smiles. He says they should grill those kids about the stores. They spend their time stealing gold, so they must know where to spend it. The kids are walking and chatting about the store. They had bad luck before, but hope for better items soon. After all, 90% of gamblers quit before they hit it big. The kids return to their hideout, but the place looks completely empty. They quietly unlock a room and find all their friends hiding inside. One kid asks about Yujin, since she seems to be missing. The kid starts crying and says that man came back and took Yujin because she did not have enough money. Yujin suddenly walks into the room and tells him to just shut up. The guy asks if she is all right, but his expression shifts the moment he notices her face. It looks like she has become a vampire. He walks right past her and heads straight into the boss's room. The boss calls him Taeshang, then asks why he killed Woo-suk. He says Woo-suk was loyal to their group and served as their leader. The kid explains that Woo-suk attacked them first, so he had no other choice. Then the boss asks if he plans on killing Yujin too. He stands up and tells him that vampires start losing their sanity if they do not drink blood. Taeshang hesitates, then asks the guy if he has any clue how many people Woo-suk actually killed. That simple question really sets the guy off. He demands to know if his underling is talking back to him. He reminds him that it is only because of the boss they still have a job. Defying their orders means they are completely finished. Taeshang just turns his back to walk away. He tells the guy he will figure everything out on his own. But the conversation is definitely not over yet. He demands 10,000 gold in 2 days or Taeshang is a dead man. Just as this is happening, noises start drifting in from outside the room. Sung-woo and his crew have finally made it into the hideout. The main character jokes about the poor customer service. The boss assumes they are just here to shop. He asks them what they really want to buy. Sung-woo points his rusty sword straight at him. He tells the guy to hand over absolutely everything he owns. The vampire just starts laughing like it is a joke. He tells them they have no idea what mess they have walked into. Sung-woo catches a glimpse of those sharp fangs. He asks if he is actually the boss of this apartment gang. The boss gets furious after realizing these are the people who wiped out his entire gang. He charges forward in a fit of rage toward them. Almost instantly, an orc skeleton grabs him tight by his arms. The main character holds his sword to the vampire's throat. He asks if the guy can regenerate his head. Both orc skeletons grab the vampire and pin him down tightly. Sung-woo drives his blade halfway through his throat and warns him not to move. He continues by asking if he is the infamous vampire lord. Upon hearing that, the vampire just bursts out laughing. Without warning, he breaks out of the hold and crushes the sword. The vampire tries to launch a quick counterattack at the main character, but suddenly he is hit by several daggers, just like the main character predicted his movement. Jisoo moves faster than the vampire. She rushes in and slices his arm clean off. Blood sprays everywhere, and he screams in agony from the wound. The fire on her blade keeps him from healing. He really can't recover from this. Jisoo keeps the pressure on. Her sword is still surrounded by roaring flames. He's quick enough to dodge the strike this time, though. She drops low to duck and lands another hit on him. That just makes him furious. He starts lashing out at her in anger. It's impressive how well she keeps up with the vampire. He grabs her sword. Her new skill warns her and she easily dodges. The orc skeletons suddenly attack the vampire from behind. Seungwoo has a new skill that covers them in a death aura. It boosts their power while draining the enemy. Seungwoo knows his soldiers would have crumbled before. Now they're holding their ground thanks to his buff. Those orcs quickly force the vampire down onto his knees. Trapped and desperate, he yells out asking what they want from him. The vampire spots Seungwoo and realizes he's the controller. He looks like an easy one-hit kill. He decides to play it smart. He pretends to talk just to get within striking distance. But before he can even move, he gets impaled by bone spears. Seungwoo says he can talk just fine with those spears through his chest. He stares him down asking if he wants more. T-Song watches in total disbelief. He can't understand how they managed to take down such a strong monster. The vampire just laughs. He tells them not to get cocky just because they managed to beat him. Suddenly, he starts shifting into a scary monster. He warns them that his master plan will bring their deaths. Seungwoo has really heard enough of this guy. He tells Jisoo it is time to wrap things up. She acts fast. With one clean swipe, his head comes right off and he is dead. T-Song sees this and starts panicking for his life. He begs them to believe he had no part in this. Seungwoo gives him a small smile. He says he just wants them to hand over every piece of stolen loot. The thieves cough up all their gold. Honestly, it is not all that much in the end. Jisoo looks down at the vampire body. She wonders if this boss is the same person the other one named. Seungwoo admits the guy is getting stronger. Since he has minions collecting cash, he is playing a smart game. Jisoo is shocked. She cannot believe someone has adjusted to this new world even faster than Seungwoo has. It really feels like those guys are much better suited for this reality than the previous one was. Seungwoo knows more vampires are coming. The boss and his crew can turn regular players into vampires too. He wonders if he could just ignore them, but that is not an option. It takes his whole team to down one. If they teamed up against them, they would not stand a chance. He knows another fight is inevitable after today. He pivots to the teenagers then. He starts asking them about where that store is located. T-Song is suddenly way too eager to help. He offers right away to take them there himself. Everyone freezes as a system warning appears. It targets players who skip their card choice again. The notice is glowing red and feels like an absolute omen. One of the kids starts screaming in pure terror. He never picked a card for himself. He explains that the whole thing felt like a trap to him. He just did not trust the system. He gestures toward another guy and notes that he hasn't chosen a card yet. A red system alert suddenly pops up. It says that anyone who missed their card pick will turn into a monster. Both players start screaming. Their bodies begin to undergo a horrific transformation right there. Seungwoo watches them change. He realizes immediately that they won't stand a chance once the transformation finishes. He shouts for everyone to attack now. They have to strike before the process is done. Meanwhile, Hanho's parents are waiting right outside the building. They are starting to get really stressed out. His mom asks if it is really okay to hurt these thieves so badly. His dad stomps his foot in frustration. He says these teens hurt and killed people, so this is just what they deserve. Back inside, the orc skeletons work fast. They are trying to destroy the monsters before the change is complete. The main character knows the only play here is to finish them off during the change. Suddenly, a wolf strikes back. It hits the skeletons and snaps one of them in half. The main character is shocked. He cannot believe that the monster has this much overwhelming raw power. Righty and the orcs keep up the pressure. They pummel the werewolves until they finally go down for good. Each kill earns them 3,000 gold. It even bumps his level up to 8. He stares at the bodies in shock. He wonders what kind of monsters these are since they pay out so much gold. He goes ahead and picks a random stat card. It gives him a nice boost, increasing his speed by 3 points. He seems happy. Jisoo says higher stats are crucial because enemies will target him once they realize he controls the skeletons. Back to Hanho, he is still losing his mind. He keeps wondering if they have to keep fighting monsters this scary. The main character hears him and shares his own plan. He actually wants to make the monsters his new minions. He usually avoids using this on humans to keep his reputation clean, but things are different now. There are still plenty of players who have not picked a card yet. They will all turn into monsters very soon. He has to stop worrying about his reputation if he wants to fight them. He turns the skeletons into his loyal minions. He thinks they might actually stand a chance against the vampires. Taeshang watches in total shock as his old friend becomes a skeleton soldier. It is all under the main character's command now. Sungwoo just stares at him with eyes as cold as ice. He demands that the man tell him where the store is located. Taesung explains that the shop is at a used car complex. The people running the place are really doing some awful things. His group only spends their time stealing items. The other guys actually work for the vampires and hunt down humans for them. Hearing this answer, Sungwoo tells him to lead the way there. They enter the car lot with orc and werewolf skeletons following close behind. The main character knows something is wrong here. He cannot spot any guards anywhere in the complex. Suddenly they hear a massive racket coming from inside. He immediately signals for everyone to hide and lay low. They watch from cover as a massive bear monster battles a vampire. The vampire looks like he is losing the fight. The bear keeps smashing him with these heavy iron chains. Sungwoo spots the chains and starts to wonder about them. Are the vampires keeping this poor monster captive? It clicks in his mind that it was probably a human they kidnapped earlier. They must have turned into monsters after missing their card. Just as the fight seems to end, the vampire recovers. He gets back on his feet and charges at the bear again. That bear is pretty hurt, but he still manages to slam the vampire back. The main character thinks this is actually a pretty good development. If he plays his cards right, he might be able to control that bear monster. Both monsters start fighting and roaring again. He orders his werewolf skeletons to jump into the fray. One stabs the vampire, but the bear fights back hard. The bear tries to grab one werewolf. Suddenly, the second one leaps in and slashes him with its sharp claws. Killing that bear finally pays off with 3,500 gold to his name. He is at full capacity. He has to scrap one of his skeletons to make room. He trashes an orc to swap it out for that beast. The bear is huge and looks like the largest mid-level minion allowed. Out of nowhere, Hanho spots their school bus parked with the other cars. Suddenly it hits them that the vampires must have snagged the students. Sungwoo realizes that facing the enemies who captured all those students would be a nightmare. Rushing in blindly is definitely not an option here. He glances over at Taeshang to ask for the scoop on that store. Just as he starts pointing out the way, someone suddenly smacks his hand away. He turns around to find his friend Yujin, but she has been turned into a vampire. The vampire laughs once he hears her name. He claims he keeps the students safe like his own children. He is just there to see who has been taking out his kind. Sungwoo figures the girl is possessed. He guesses the vampire tracked him down after his subordinates started dropping. He tells the guy he is talking a bit too much for a vampire lord. The vampire chuckles and says he has a bad habit of explaining things to idiots. He mentions that is why people call him the professor, since they clearly do not care he decides to skip the lecture. He bluntly says they are all dead meat. Without warning, he casts a lesser curse on our lead. This nasty thing is only going to come off with some holy magic. The vampire lord laughs and readies to wipe them all out. But before he can move, Sungwoo plants a foot right in his face. Hanho watches that go down and has to ask if he is even human anymore. Sungwoo stares at the red mark on his hand and wonders if the curse is starting. Luckily for him, it does not seem to be doing anything yet. Then Han-ho shows up wearing his priest gear and reaches out like a helpful angel. Sung-woo looks at him and thinks national standards are totally in the gutter if his buddy can be a priest. Han-ho grabs his hand to try and lift the curse, but his holy magic just is not strong enough. Turns out this curse is a beacon that reveals his location every 12 hours. A moment later, a new quest pops up. It is a special one that forces him to kill the vampire lord. His reward is 30,000 gold and a C-rank item ticket. This quest actually makes his life easier. He decides to take out the vampire lord before the vampire takes out him. Next, he walks over to Taishang to ask about exactly where the vampire is hiding. The whole group heads inside the D-rank item store. Now they have to pick between 4 balls ranging from bronze all the way to platinum. That top tier one costs a whopping 100 gold. Our guy goes first. He has an unlimited rank ticket, so he could easily snag the platinum ball. He decides to save it for a rainy day since that seems smarter. He can handle himself just fine and does not really need a handout. He picks the gold option and a new menu pops up. He remembers his past luck and realizes he should just aim for first place. It just has the best odds for a top-tier item. A sly grin spreads across his face as he goes all in. His luck holds up and he secures that first-place prize. He wins a coupon for a rare master ranked class skill. It costs 0 mana and creates a safe pocket for his minions to rest. They can hang out there until he needs them. Just be careful, though. Summoning too many at once triggers a curse that gets stronger every time. Jisoo and Han-ho glare at him because he keeps getting the best loot. She shoves him aside so she can take her turn. Meanwhile, Seung-woo tests out his fancy new spell and packs his minions away. It basically works like an oversized inventory for his team. He can stash them in there and call them back whenever he wants. He turns around to see what his friends got and realizes they look absolutely miserable. Turns out Jisoo just pulled a basic medkit and some hiking gear. Han-ho did not do much better with his heavy bullhide chest piece. Seeing their sour expressions, he nervously asks if they should keep moving forward. While that is happening back at the lair, the vampires have all the other students trapped. Kyung-soo sits surrounded by his dead friends and wonders if he made the wrong choice. Maybe he should have just followed the main character when he had the chance. He finally realizes that dragging everyone to that military base was a huge mistake. After dodging those dragons, the crew finally made it to the base, but it was trashed and totally empty. Everyone immediately turned to him for next steps. Poor guy was put on the spot. The other students were freaking out. You could tell they had no clue what to do next. All eyes went to Kyung-soo. He was stressed. Why was he in charge? He just gave them a ride. Then someone shoved a phone in his face. It mentioned a safe zone inside the fortress. With everyone staring at him, it clicked. They were only alive because of him. Time to shine. He decided to believe in himself for once. He led the whole group toward that fortress. Well, that was a massive mistake. No safe zone here, just bloodthirsty vampires waiting to slaughter them. The unlucky ones who lived were dragged off as slaves. Talk about a rough break. A vampire kicked Kyung-soo across the floor. He told him to keep moving or else. The vampire laughed and threatened to eat him if he slowed down. Kyung-soo just stared in despair. He knew deep down he was next on the menu, just like his friends. The vampires lined them up for the kill, but then they noticed a weird skeleton standing there. It was pretty small, just a minion really. It stood there pointing a tiny sword at them. The vampires just laughed. They figured it was just another weak monster looking for snacks. One vampire lunged at it to tear it apart, but suddenly spears popped up and impaled him. Out of nowhere, the whole army appeared. You know exactly who showed up to the party. Kyung-soo's face lit up. He realized the main character came to save their lives. The guy looked way stronger than before. It was wild. They were both college kids, so why the difference? The vampires try jumping up for another attack. Big mistake. A skeleton bear tears one of them apart instantly. Our main guy stands tall with his army. He orders the troops to slaughter every vampire except one. He needs someone to talk. Kyung-soo just stares at the group. He cannot believe how terrifyingly strong they actually are. It's not just our main guy who looks different. Jisoo looks a whole lot better, too. The last vampire tries begging for his life. Orc skeletons just hold him firm in place. Sung-woo starts questioning him. He wants to know how many players and vampires are hiding inside the building. The vampire claims only their level 5 area manager is inside. There are 12 players total with a max level of 4. Sung-woo thanks him for being honest, but he has absolutely no plans to let the guy live. The vampire panics and offers intel on the building's security. Kyung-soo just stabs him mid-sentence. He looks up at them now. He admits he knows exactly what is happening inside that factory. He breaks down sobbing. He begs them to kill all the vampires. His friends were cowards, but they did not deserve that end. Sung-woo gives him a steady pat on the shoulder. He tells the guy he did well just to survive this long. These aren't normal people who just turn killer. Vampires hide in plain sight waiting for a chance to strike. The old world is gone. That does not mean we can let these monsters walk around free anymore. The crew starts sorting out the prisoners. Someone asks the manager how long he plans to keep doing this. The manager grins. He says people are just easy snacks and free experience points compared to actual monsters. He brags about his CEO. Apparently their leader has incredible vision. The guy gets pumped up instantly. He wants in on that vision too. The manager promises him a spot if he works hard. He points to himself as an example. He started as a warehouse grunt and worked his way up to being permanent staff. Right in the middle of his speech, some voice mocks him. He turns around to find our protagonist standing there, totally alone. Sung-woo just laughs and says their total betrayal of humanity is actually pretty creative. The manager demands to know who he is while moving toward him with his group. The kids trapped in the cages spot him and let out a huge sigh of relief. Hearing the chatter, the vampire shrieks and reminds them they are nothing but snacks. Sung-woo looks cold and asks if his boss never mentioned a name to him. That is the moment the vampire realizes exactly who killed Manager Park. He chuckles at the title manager and asks if they are all playing office dress-up. The manager watches him walk in alone and thinks he is reckless, but surely no match for them. Sung-woo just grins and says his own abilities are more than enough to handle them. All of a sudden, thick black smoke starts filling up the whole floor. The workers freak out seeing a notification that the Great Spirit has been activated. Then skeleton minions start pouring out of the haze, one by one. The curse of death lowers stats for every employee nearby. The vampire finally feels true terror as his crew crumbles under the skeleton army. The manager tries to get everyone under control, but it is a total lost cause. Even when a vampire destroys a minion, it instantly springs right back to life. The manager loses his cool and kicks an orc minion into pieces in a rage. He charges straight at Sung-woo, knowing he is the one pulling the strings here. Before he can even make a move, a bottle of acid smacks him right in the head. Han-ho is waiting over by the first-floor window with a perfect shot of that vampire. Once the vampire drops, Jisoo saves the hostages. Meanwhile, Kyung-soo bashes his bus through the wall and tells everyone to jump in. The vampire wants to chase them, but he totally misses Righty charging right at him on a giant wolf. The werewolf skeleton slams him down, and Righty leaps up high to deliver the finishing blow. With all of Sung-woo's crazy buffs and debuffs, the vampire never stood a ghost of a chance. The MC tells the vampire that picking this factory for his base was a huge tactical mistake. The vampire is sweating now. He realizes this MC is not just strong, but actually pretty clever too. He is bleeding out, but then he hears his CEO offering a power boost to crush the MC. Sung-woo just stares, totally confused, as the vampire bloats up and starts looking like a feral monster. A system message pops up to warn him that a high-level vampire has officially gone berserk. Looking at his wild new look, He casually asks him if this is his real form. The vampire lunges forward in a blind rage and starts tearing through the skeletons. The MC orders everyone to counterattack, but the vampire is actually holding his own against them. He is moving incredibly fast and smashing all the skeletons to pieces as he goes. He catches a glimpse of Jisoo for a second before she vaults over him and slices his back. As he turns around, she grabs Righty and launches him at the vampire. Righty slashes right through him midair. An orc tries to get a hit in at the same time, but the vampire just vaporizes it. Every time the vampire destroys one of his minions, the MC just brings them right back to life. Manhwa is honestly shocked that Jisoo can hold him off by herself. Sungwoo looks pretty worried about the situation and realizes this is not good for them. The vampire is berserk and down a lot of blood. He definitely does not have much time left before he collapses. But our guy is burning through mana pretty fast himself. If his orcs stop holding the front line, then things are going to get messy. The biggest worry here is much worse, though. It looks like this vampire might just be some low-level subordinate to the real boss. Sungwoo starts wondering just how strong that vampire lord must be. That is such a terrifying thought to consider. As Sungwoo revives his soldiers, he spots a fallen werewolf corpse nearby. This gives him a really perfect idea for the fight. He gives the vampire a grin and makes a fake apology. He's about to steal one of his captured monsters right from under him. With the new werewolf on the roster, all his minions get a fresh synergy buff. Their power levels just shot up because of the new team member. The vampire gets totally confused when he sees the skeletons suddenly become way more powerful than before. Something feels like it is definitely going wrong for him. Sungwoo commands his werewolves to tear the vamp apart. He decides that should end this fight for good. They listen to his command without any hesitation. The pack surrounds the guy and starts eating him alive. Sungwoo stares the vampire right in the eyes. He tells the dying vampire to let his boss know that their business in Hwaseong is officially bankrupt. He gets 10-0 gold for killing the vampire. The system even identifies him as a player after the win. Sungwoo thinks he could maybe turn this corpse into a minion. Usually he chopped off their heads to stop them from regenerating, but since this one is still intact, he can work with it. He brings the corpse back as a vampire skeleton. He tells him that he serves a new master now instead of that old vampire lord. Out of nowhere, he gets a strange notification. It says he can now access the memories of any corpse under his control. He wonders what this actually means and decides to dive into the vampire's memories. This is brand new since he never saw minion memories before. He figures it must be a skill he just unlocked. Inside, he sees all the vampires meeting up. Their lord is sitting there casually drinking a massive glass of blood. He demands to know what the point of this game is. When nobody answers, he explains that their goal is to evolve. It doesn't matter if a god or alien created this game. What matters is the chance to shed their fragile forms and evolve. The vampire lord clearly wants to build a new world order. Sungwoo stares at him with pure anger. He just realized who the vampire lord is. The vampire lord claims he's received a new quest. He says everyone is obligated to help. Everyone agrees to follow him immediately after hearing his words. Sungwoo wonders if they're brainwashed by that bite. They're showing way too much unnatural loyalty. He talks about a party planned in Hwaseong. He tells them to invite people and have fun. He orders manager Kim to handle the food and all the farming supplies. Sungwoo finally realizes exactly what is going on. They're just setting up human farms for slaughter parties. Their strategy involves baiting people with fake safety zones. They're handing out some very false hope. A few moments later, Sungwoo receives an exclusive quest. He remembers a similar quest appearing when he watched his professor die. This quest focuses on the planned massacre. He can prevent the slaughter or loot the corpses. That choice will seal his destiny. Manhwa tries to wake him up. It looks like Sungwoo is stuck in a memory fragment. Manhwa starts crying. He thinks something terrible happened to Sungwoo after he took control. When Sungwoo finally wakes up, he grabs Hanho by the head. He asks who said he messed up. This scares Hanho a little bit. Sungwoo lets go and reminds him of his promise. He flashes a grin and tells Hanho they have a new quest to finish. The vampire lord is actually pretty ticked off. His manager got wiped out by the main guy. Even worse, that manager had some of the vampire lord's own power. Madame Yang is worried Sungwoo might mess up their plans, but the vampire lord just laughs it off. He thinks those weak skeletons honestly are not a threat. He says once the great feast is over, he will hunt him down. He even plans to use a nasty curse to finish him off. Meanwhile, outside the factory, everyone is scrambling to grab gear. They are looting daggers and other weapons off the defeated vampires. Hanho asks Sungwoo if they really should be doing all this looting. Sungwoo just looks at him and asks what he means by that. Jisoo jumps in to remind everyone what Sungwoo said earlier. She warns that a giant massacre is about to wreck the Huasheng fortress. She asks if they should hurry up and prioritize stopping those vampires right away. Just then, Hanho shouts that something crazy is going down online. He says they need to see this post immediately. It looks like vampires are recruiting more people. They are promising safety and free food at their camp. Someone named Manager Gu is posting ads to trick survivors. Hanho starts thinking about posting a warning to everyone, but the main guy tells him to stop right there. He says they have no way of knowing if a warning will help. People looking for hope will take any chance they can get. If they mess with the vampire's plans now, the enemies will change tactics. He loses his edge since he already knows their next move. They need to spend this time getting ready for the fight instead. Then he asks Jisoo if she managed to find anything useful. She says yes, she found some really helpful potions inside the warehouse. Hanho chimes in too because he found a wireless charging battery. They can finally power up their dead phones again. Jisoo also found a white potion called Treatment. She explains that it is used to cure weird infections. Sungwoo uses it on Taeshang's friend right away. She starts looking mostly normal to everyone again. Taeshang and the others are extremely grateful for his help. The main guy knows that girl has been through a living nightmare. The potion did not fix everything, but it was still totally effective. He turns to Taeshang with a very serious warning. He says to keep an eye on her in case she is possessed again. If that happens, he will have to put her down. The guy looks determined and promises he will not let that happen. The main character gives them a genuinely confused look. He wonders if he is actually hearing them right. Will they really jump to protect their friend if he comes after him? He realizes they are criminals but not exactly bad people, so he lets them walk free. He offers a parting thought, though. It is very likely they will run into each other again later. Then Sungwoo turns to Mr. Lee, who is the father of Hanho. He asks him to activate his signature skill to build a safe zone around their current factory. Being in this zone makes recovery happen much faster than normal. On top of that, Mr. Lee maintains full authority over everything happening within the space. Finally, the stress leaves the group as they feel their various injuries begin to mend. Since the mother of Hanho has a special chef class, she can cook meals that give everyone a helpful buff. Jisoo scans the other players nearby. She thinks out loud that people are finally finding ways to adapt. Sungwoo asks if she also happens to have an exclusive quest. She looks a bit puzzled and says she does not. It seems he is the only one with a quest like that. He tells Jisoo that she really does not have to tag along. She is quick to reply that she wants to go with him anyway. He asks if this is all about her strong sense of justice, but she quickly shakes her head. She explains that she cannot just keep hiding from monsters forever. Eventually, she will end up dead if she keeps running away. So, she is choosing to fight for her own survival. Just then, a notification pops up to announce they are all entering Chapter 1. The admin congratulates everyone for surviving while noting the many lives lost so far. People who could not adapt have turned into werebeasts. The game is getting dangerous because now they must fight monsters and other people. Only the truly bold will make it from here on out. 4 major warnings show up on the screen. The event lasts 7 days, and no one can leave the Suwon or Huasheng fortress areas. Players will start earning double the gold from now on. Defeating a werebeast might drop a random combo card. Plus, a boss monster shows up in each area with powerful loot that you cannot buy in shops. Sungwoo stares at the screen and realizes they are stuck in the current region for now. Jisoo stays firm with a serious look on her face. She tells him that they simply have to stay and fight instead of running away. Hanho looks annoyed because he feels like Sungwoo is forcing him into this dangerous quest. Sungwoo points out that Jisoo has been with them from the very start. He notes that she is perfectly capable of surviving on her own if she wants to. He would not even last a single day by himself. He is just way too weak. Hanho changes the topic and says people are reacting to that post on the forum. Most comments are all over the place. One guy from a group called Independence stands out. He is a prosecutor who built a safe zone with a level 3 skill. Their main goal is to protect survivors and keep them alive. Sungwoo does not think the guy expects him to join that guild. That post was just to prove they are the good guys. Hanho is amazed the guy showed that much foresight. Sungwoo says some ambitious folks are starting to come out of the woodwork now. His friend chimes in and asks where they are heading exactly. They are going to grind for levels. Sungwoo checks his level and hears it is only 5. That is pretty pathetic. Suddenly, Kyungsoo slams the brakes and announces that they have arrived at their destination. They step out of the car. Hanho asks if this is really the place he had in mind. He confirms it is the spot. This area is officially their new hunting ground. It is crawling with monsters behind the cars. All of a sudden, a giant burning rock comes flying straight at them. They barely manage to dodge the thing by diving behind some cars. These little creeps can use magic. Still, they are no match for the skeleton army. Jisoo and the skeletons finish off the pack. Sungwoo explains that these things are called kobolds. The plan is to level Hanho up and grab new minions. Sungwoo wants monsters that used to be human to boost his power. These kobolds are just not strong enough. He already has his werewolves to crush any low-level vampires he runs into. Jisoo yells out and tells him to take a look at the grocery store. The parking lot is covered in bodies. It really reminds her of their old college campus. Sungwoo realizes this might have been a location for one of the tutorials. She turns to him and asks if he thinks anyone managed to survive inside the store. He tells her that crowded places attract tons of monsters, so the chances of finding survivors are super low. Kyungsoo hears that and guesses that quiet rural areas like Jeju Island might be safer. It has a much smaller population. This makes Jisoo feel a bit relieved because her family lives over on that island. She spots Sungwoo looking at her and tells him not to worry. She was not expecting to see them anyway. Plus, she knows they are likely doing just fine. Those guys are total big shots. The guy realizes her relationship with her family is complicated. He decides not to pry any further. They step into a mart, but magic seals the entrance shut. The place turns into a dungeon called the Sorcerer's Fortress. You have to beat the boss to escape. Suddenly, a massive magic circle glows under their feet. It teleports everyone to totally different locations. Hanho drops from the ceiling straight into a group of kobolds. They start laughing about catching a weak human all by himself. He thinks he can take them at first, but when he realizes he is on his own, panic sets in. The kobolds pounce on him, but in the chaos, he accidentally manages to kill one of them. They launch a furious attack at him. He starts thinking this truly might be his end. But wait, he stops for a second and realizes he is not taking any damage at all. Then it clicks. His priest class skill grants him protection for 10 seconds after getting a kill. The kobolds look totally confused. They cannot understand why their attacks are failing to hurt him. Hanho stands up, still looking terrified. He asks them if they really just called him weak. Meanwhile, Kyungsoo and Jisoo are sticking together while trying to find the rest of the group. They spot blood around the corner. They turn it to find Hanho standing over a pile of defeated kobolds. Jisoo is absolutely shocked by what she sees. but he just grins and says he finally unlocked his hidden potential. The three heroes are finally back together now. They decide there is no reason to stress over Sungwoo. He can easily deal with all those monsters on his own. Just like they thought, the main guy and his minions are tearing through those kobolds. He cleans them all up without any trouble at all. Still, he cannot help but feel a bit worried about his friend. He wanders around looking for an exit and spots a survivor who is badly hurt. The guy looks like he is in really rough shape. It does not seem like potions will do much to help him. The poor guy barely has the strength to lift a finger, but he points to a box. Sungwoo picks the box up right in front of him. He asks if there happens to be a potion inside. He opens it up and finds a mysterious egg sitting there. The description claims something will hatch that changes his fate. With his last breath, the survivor warns him. He says the dungeon boss has the token required to claim the egg. That egg actually belonged to the survivor first. Somehow, the boss managed to swipe the token away. Sungwoo feels really down when he realizes who this guy is. He was actually a powerful 5-star dragon knight. He probably got lost inside the dungeon while trying to find the store. Then the boss took away all his precious tokens. It seems his class only gets really strong later on. Sadly, the poor guy just did not make it that far. The description calls it a mystery, but Sungwoo knows a dragon egg when he sees one. He figures the guy wanted him to finish the game. While he stands there, even more kobolds attack him. His minions take care of them without breaking a sweat. Now Sungwoo is feeling really determined to find that token. He wants revenge for the guy who died right in front of him. His minions keep on crushing all of the kobolds. He thinks it is weird that they keep charging blindly without any fear. They really look like they are just acting without any mind of their own. Suddenly, he hears a loud and sharp explosion. He looks up and spots a kobold sorcerer. It looks pretty intimidating, but one of his minions takes it down along with the other kobolds in a heartbeat. He levels up and he chooses the skill option. He really wants a larger army of minions under his command. Then he gains a brand new skill called Corpse Explosion. It costs 10 mana to make a body blow up. He does not have to wait long to give it a try. More monsters start attacking him right away. He tells his minions to back off. Then he uses the skill on a corpse and it creates a huge blast. The kobolds waiting outside hear the explosion, and they start to get pretty nervous about it. Out of nowhere, Righty leaps right out the door and wipes them all out. The main character gives him some praise, which clearly makes the little guy happy. They find the dungeon boss wrapped in roots. It is a high-level sorcerer shielded by a force field. To break it, you have to destroy 3 cores hidden in the dungeon. Normal attacks do not even scratch the thing. When he sees that shield, he finally understands why the boss was just sitting there while its guards fought. Suddenly, the boss casts a really nasty spell. Anyone under level 10 will be dead in an hour. He realizes what that means for his team. Everyone in his group is under level 10. It turns out those kobolds charging them earlier were just trying to buy time for that spell. He tries sending his minions to attack the boss, but they cannot get through the shield. He thinks fast and tells his minions to pile kobold corpses around the boss. Then he blows them up. However, he sees the boss is totally fine when the smoke clears. The boss gets angry and sacrifices its own health to speed up the spell. Now they have 52 minutes. Sungwoo starts to get really worried. He has even less time now to track down those cores. He is frustrated, but he has to move. He knows finding the cores is the only way to stop that curse. He starts gathering memory fragments from the revived kobolds. It reveals exactly where the cores are hidden. Righty does not waste any time and wipes out the first of the 3 cores. Now he is under the gun with only 19 minutes left to find the rest. He keeps moving forward while reviving more monsters to dig through their memories. He quickly pins down the next location and heads straight for the first floor. On the next floor, they spot a pile of dead kobolds. Sungwoo wonders if Jisoo did this. A notification says the second core is broken. He figures she must have spotted the instant death warning too. He spots a figure fighting ahead and assumes it must be her. He calls out and tells her she needs to find Hanho and Kyungsu. To his surprise, the one crushing kobolds is actually Hanho. He smirks at our guy and says he is late. Sungwoo stares at him and honestly wonders if he is having a weird dream. Just then Jisoo shows up saying she smashed one of the cores, but Sungwoo is just confused by Hanho's sudden change. Hanho plays the hero and tells everyone to focus. We have no time to lose, so let's find that core. They are really cutting it close now, with only 13 minutes left on the clock. At the final core, the kobolds put up a desperate fight. He tells the group to ignore the mobs and focus. The core is found quickly. There are only 10 minutes left until everything ends. Sungwoo gives Righty a boost. The creature leaps over the enemies and smashes the last core. With the force field gone, they have 9 minutes to hunt down the boss. The boss has really ticked him off. Sungwoo is ready to teach it a serious lesson. Hanho snaps back to his senses. He mentions how blowing up corpses should make killing the boss a breeze now. But the boss already saw that move, so it is probably ready for it. Hanho suggests causing a massive building collapse instead. Actually, that gives him a pretty wild idea. He tells the team to move out and hit the boss room immediately. We are running out of time, so they need to hurry. They manage to arrive at the boss room just in time. A kobold sorcerer launches a fireball, and it successfully ruins the boss's instant death spell. Sungwoo glares at the boss with real anger. He asks if it has any other tricks hiding up its sleeve. The boss loses its mind and decides to undergo a transformation. It turns into a massive fallen tree spirit. It lets out a terrifying roar and starts swinging at the group. It crushes his minions like they are pieces of trash. The boss tries to strike the group, but they dodge at the last second. Jisoo swings her burning sword at a thick branch. She manages to light it up, but the wood heals almost instantly. Sungwoo tells her to get out of the way right now. He orders his werewolf minion to start tossing dead kobolds at the beast. He blows them up the moment they get close to the boss. The massive blast hits the boss right in the face. He thinks that should kill it, but the boss just regenerates again. Suddenly, another fireball hits the boss from right behind it. The team keeps pelting it with fire attacks, but it just keeps coming back. Sungwoo yells at them to keep the pressure on the boss. Then a system notification pops up for them. It says the boss is out of mana and trading health instead. He smiles because he has been using the devil's bloodstone to drain it. Even with its mana gone, the boss still keeps attacking them. Sungwoo decides it is finally time for his group to retreat. The boss reaches out to grab them, but it stumbles and falls. It is simply way too weak to hold on to its target. As they leave the room, Sungwoo takes one last look back. He reveals he left most of his skeletons on the first floor. Once everyone reaches safety, he triggers the explosion. Hundreds of dead kobold bodies piled below the boss go up. Without any mana left to heal, the boss finally goes down. He earns 140 gold and hits level 10. Since he is the 69th person to reach that level, he gets a roulette ticket. His max minion count increases by 5 total. He also unlocks a new skill called Death Response. This lets him summon 10 zombies for 10 minutes without counting toward his limit. He realizes that he can now control up to 25 undead. Plus, he still has that mysterious Dragon Knight token in his inventory. He raises his blade. Now he is feeling pretty good about taking down the Vampire Lord. That Dragon Knight token turns out to be a masterless sword. It boosts your strength by 6. He cannot open the dragon egg yet since he is not a tamer, but he can hatch it in 5,000 days. Killing tough monsters with that sword makes the wait much shorter. 13 years is a long time to wait for a dragon. Jisoo thinks it is a penalty for having the wrong class. Sungwoo says he can prove himself by hunting. More monster kills keep the timer ticking down. Besides, the strength boost from the sword is worth the hassle anyway. Hanho taps him on the shoulder. He says his phone is ringing. He gets a message from Taeseong over at Hegung Square. Taeseong says it is crowded with people, but there is not a single vampire in sight. Our lead is glad to hear he is still in one piece. Back at the factory, he told him to blend in with survivors. He needed eyes on the vampires. He also gave him some very clear instructions. Send a private message if anything goes south. Tae-seung was happy to take the gig. He had been hanging around vampires for a while now. Looks like that supposed safe zone is still completely vampire-free. Just then an orc skeleton walks over. It found 2 dead werewolves resting nearby. Did the tree spirit take these guys out? He quickly revives them for his growing squad. With 5 werewolves now, his army is up to 15 minions. Time to head to Hueksheng and clear out those vampires. Meanwhile, the survivors are getting nervous. Their hosts are nowhere to be found. Vampires watch from a nearby building. They are just waiting for the signal to strike. The vampire leader walks into the room. He tells his crew it is time to move. One vampire asks if they are starting the feast early. The leader just gives them a knowing smirk. No, they are hunting down the people who hit the factory. The rest of them look confused. They thought they were here for a party. The vampire boss calls for a change in plans. Since the target is nearby, they have to move now. He wants him dead before he can wreck their plans. It is a direct order from the vampire lord himself. Don't hold anything back. Tae-seung spots the vampires heading out. He quickly pulls out his phone to call and warn the protagonist. The troop of vampires arrives at the elementary school grounds. They start hunting for the protagonist. He is still under that curse, so tracking him is easy. Honestly, he is pretty foolish to lower his guard like that. While they are advancing, they stumble across an interesting sight. A dire wolf is lying dead on the ground. They check the claw marks on the body. It looks like it was taken out by one of his werewolf minions. That is when they notice a trail of fresh blood. They decide to follow it wherever it leads. The vampire leader cannot believe his manager lost to a loser like this. He thinks the guy is an idiot who forgets that blood attracts monsters. One of the vampires points out that the blood trail ends at the school auditorium. Once they find him, the vampire lord sends out the order. They need to kill the protagonist as fast as possible. They know he can command minions, but the vampire is still sure he can win. He is only expecting about 5 werewolf skeletons. As a master serving the lord, he feels good about their chances. He is certain he can handle 2 of those skeletons all by himself. He marches the group inside and spots the protagonist with his minions. They see he only has a few skeletons with him. This sight makes them even more arrogant. Without hesitation, they start chasing after him. The protagonist runs until he hits a dead end. He turns around and tells them this will be their final resting place. The vampires start to get nervous. Something about this just does not sit right with them. He calls them out for only counting his skeletons. He tells them they have no idea what other skills he has kept hidden. Hearing this, one vampire tries to mock him. He asks if he really thinks hiding a few extra skeletons will save him. Sungwoo just grins at him. He says that he is not just commanding a pile of bones, but an entire army. He calls his minions from the void and uses death response to bring in the zombies. The vampires lose their heads when they see them. Sungwoo simply sits back and relaxes while his minions do all the hard work for him. Righty tells the skeletons to give them a boost. The zombies waste no time tearing through the vampire line. All those debuffs are really starting to smother the vampires. Sungwoo loves showing off what happens when you fight an army of the undead. A female vampire charges at him. A sorcerer hits her with a fireball and Righty finishes her. He earns 2,000 gold for that kill. With the rest of the group taken care of, the vampire master is the only one left standing. It turns out that the guy is actually surprisingly strong for a vampire. He starts tearing right through the skeletons and the zombies without breaking a sweat. 2 zombies manage to bite him, but he shakes one off like it is nothing. As the boss leaps at him, Sungwoo stays calm. He smiles and tells the vampire to look a bit more carefully. Hearing that, the vampire master starts to panic. He asks exactly what he means by that. Flashback 2 hours to outside the school. Sungwoo gave some specific, clever orders to one of his minions. He tried to make his orc skeleton explode, but it did not work. He realizes the orc is just a skeleton and not a corporeal body. That is why his skill failed. He uses death response to summon zombies. He wonders if they would explode, since they are essentially just a bunch of corpses. He finds out zombies are minions while moving, but when they stop, they are just regular corpses. He detonates the last zombie, dealing massive damage to the vampire master. He mocks the boss while he is writhing on the ground in pain. A werewolf rips the vampire master's leg clean off. He looks at Sungwoo and asks if he really thinks he can beat the boss. The main character finishes him off with his nameless sword. That earns him a sweet 20 gold reward. He also manages to reduce the egg hatching time to 149 days. He brings all the vampire corpses back to life. Having more than 5 vampire skeletons unlocks a synergy bonus. They get a 5% bleed effect on attacks. They also enter Berserk mode for a 10% stat boost before they die. Feeling solid about his new army, he is ready for the next challenge. Soon after, Jisoo sends a message that the vampires are on the move. The guards are starting to act really suspicious. They are making everyone hand over their weapons to enter the safe zone. He assumes the vampire lord sensed his guards were dead. He is likely rushing to hunt the main character down. Luckily, those vampire guards now work for him instead. Meanwhile, an old survivor spots a bunch of werewolves impaled on a rooftop nearby. The crowd wonders who could have done such a thing. The person who did that must be incredibly strong. It is finally Jisoo and Hanho's turn to get checked. A guard tells the players to hand over their weapons for the safety of others. He claims they already killed 4 werewolves, so no one needs weapons. Jisoo feels disgusted by seeing humans working for the vampires. They are just trying to make it easy for vampires to kill everyone. Taeshang sneaks over and says he hit her twin swords as planned. Their friend Yangshik, who is a 2-star swordsman, helped him out. Hanho asks if he also got the other supplies. Taeshang gives a nod and confirms that he got everything. They finish the check and go join the other survivors. Soon, the vampire lord arrives with a group of masked minions. He clearly has an axe to grind with the main character. Hanho immediately recognizes that the leader is the vampire lord. He guesses they are wearing masks just to hide their fangs. The group has their swords tucked away somewhere safe. Now they just wait for the main character to arrive. The vampire lord steps forward and starts his speech. Meanwhile, the masked vampires surround the entire crowd. The vampire lord speaks to the crowd. He claims that human weakness makes their downfall totally inevitable. He pulls down his mask and drops some news. Everyone there is just a sacrifice for the next step of evolution. Fear takes over the survivors. The vampires start their attack and people lose it. Some find an opening and run for it, but electric fences block them. They realize it was all a trap. The vampire lord smiles, watching everyone scramble. In all the chaos, Jisoo tries to guide people to safety. He eyes the swords in her hands. Clearly, he wonders how she even got a weapon like that. Right then, the school bus crashes into the fence. Kyungsoo really made an entrance. The electric barrier gets destroyed. This finally gives the players a solid chance to get away. Jisoo and Hanho leap out. They start moving the survivors towards safety. The vampire lord is absolutely furious now. He turns to the main character who just got off that bus. He stares at the vampire lord with a smirk. He mockingly calls him the Mosquito King. He looks at the vampires and asks them why they are not having any fun. The vampire lord starts to laugh. He says the guy is exactly on time. He shows off his sharp fangs. He adds that they are definitely going to have some fun. He looks to Madame Yang and says the party started badly. She says they missed the main course and tells her units to surround the runners. The vampire lord asks if he will rescue the survivors. He reassures the lord that his teammates can handle the vampire girl. The lord laughs at the whole team idea. He says if things were different, he might have even hired him. Sungwoo tells him he needs none of that. He already has friends of his own. Suddenly, a skeleton werewolf jumps from the bus. It goes straight for the vampire king. He actually feels a bit disappointed about the whole thing. He asks the guy if he seriously thought that would be enough to take him down. The vampire lord squares up against the werewolf like he means business. Then he realizes the whole thing is just a trap stuffed with nasty goblin bodies. And then the main character finally sets it off. A massive explosion tears through the whole area. The other vampires start sweating when they see their boss hit the floor. They keep telling themselves he is way too tough to go down like that. They spot the main character ducking into an old bus. They charge after him, but there is nothing inside except a pile of dead monsters. Sungwoo slips out through a hole just before he blows the bus sky high. A huge crowd of vampires gets wiped out in the blast. Back on the other side, Madame Yang is hunting survivors with her human crew. They hear that massive boom and start wondering if their vampire boss is in trouble. She tells them to chill because he is way too strong to lose to that guy. She orders them to get back to hunting the survivors instead. But then she catches a sudden glimpse behind her. She sees both of them lying dead on the dirt. She picks up on a dangerous vibe right behind her. She barely manages to dodge a sudden strike from Jisoo. She glares at the vampire girl with pure rage. She gets ready to handle this fight all by herself. Hanho and Tisong manage to get the survivors somewhere safe. Things are looking pretty good thanks to Sungwoo and his clever plan. Hanho keeps his daggers ready just in case of trouble. They are really hoping they won't actually need to use them tonight. Of course, their luck runs out when a vampire shows up right behind them. The vampire lord must have left him there to keep watch on the perimeter. The vampire laughs at them for getting cornered. He asks if they are going to help him earn some experience points. Tisong charges right in to launch an attack. He figures this guy looks a lot weaker than the others. Hanho tries to talk him out of it, but it does not work. The vampire ducks the attack and almost bites Tisong in the neck. Hanho jumps in just in time, throwing his daggers. The vampire leaps up to dodge Tisong, but Hanho is ready and throws his daggers. They hit the vampire right in the face, knocking him flat. Hanho just stands there, stunned that he finally managed to take down a vampire. But then he notices there is no gold. He realizes the fight is far from over. The vampire gets back up, absolutely furious. He shouts at them for ruining his perfect face. Meanwhile, the main guy has already wiped out the smaller vampires with a massive explosion. He knows the real threat is still lurking out there somewhere. The vampire lord suddenly leaps onto the bus. He has wings now, like he just bought a premium skin. The main guy knows killing him will take a lot of work. As the lord charges, he summons undead minions from the void. The vampire lord lands right in the center of the skeletons. He smashes through them with no effort at all. Knowing those skeletons will not last, Sungwoo calls up zombies from the ground. The vampire lord looks a bit surprised by the zombies, but he does not care since he knows they are not a real threat. As soon as the lord kills one zombie, the main guy tries to detonate the corpse. The vampire is ready for that. He uses a blood skill to shoot a pressurized mist at them. It is not a very strong skill, but it is enough to stop the detonation. The main guy switches tactics and sends his werewolves forward. He activates the Cerberus synergy to boost their strength. But the vampire lord is too fast. He slices through 3 werewolves in just one strike. The main guy realizes he cannot win in close combat. He immediately orders his minions to attack with spears. The vampire lord dodges the spears effortlessly. He calls it boring and says this is the limit for unevolved humans. Sungwoo looks at him and asks if he really thinks a monster like himself is evolved.